Chapter 153. Actually, it doesn't matter who she is. The director pretended not to see Zhong Xinglin's gaze and forced a smile. A few seconds later. As expected, Zhong Xinglin smiled, but it made people's hair stand on end. That's right. You've created a system that's worth more than tens of millions. You've got nothing to lose. I haven't gotten anything yet. When the director heard this, his legs almost went weak. The young man was speechless. It was starting. He was starting again. At this moment, he really suspected that when Zhong Xinglin found that big shot, he might even be willing to sell the A.M. Computing Institute to support that big shot. After that, just as the atmosphere was at its most tense, Zhong Xinglin suddenly laughed. However, I seem to know who this person is. At this point, Zhong Xinglin glanced at the Qin family meaningfully. In the end, his gaze stopped on Mother Qin and he looked away. Some blessings are indeed bestowed by the heavens. However, there will always be people who don't know how to appreciate it and dare to push everything away. With that said, Zhong Xinglin sneered and couldn't be bothered to continue. Whether the Qin family had the fortune to rise to the top in one step depended on whether they had brains. After all, this was Bei Yunji's family matter. Zhong Xinglin was tactful and knew that he shouldn't interfere at this time. Otherwise, if he did anything unnecessary, it would be annoying. At the thought of this, Zhong Xinglin was in a good mood. He felt that the day when he could poach her was not far away. Alright, let's go and see old Master Qin. Bei Yunji was willing to come to the hospital to help change the system. This meant that old Master Qin had a high status in her heart. At the thought of this, Zhong Xinglin felt inexplicably jealous. Why didn't he have a biological granddaughter like Bei Yunji? Bei Yunji was only 19 years old. She already had such a level. In the future, when she grew up, would there be any room for others to surpass her? Zhong Xinglin felt a lingering fear. He felt that it was a good thing that he had discovered Bei Yunji's existence in time. Otherwise, wouldn't our nation have benefited? At the internet cafe, the young man walked out with an unpleasant expression. He had been busy for 2 hours tonight, but he hadn't accomplished anything. Thinking of this, the young man's expression darkened and he gnashed his teeth. Who is it that's ruining my plans? If he found out, he would never let that person off. The young man took a deep breath and decided to wait for the next opportunity. Since no one could find him, he would always have a chance to kill Qin Lang's family. You want to catch me? Why don't you take a look at yourself? The young man picked up the pebble beside his feet, looking vile and arrogant. But who would have thought that a soft chuckle could be heard not far away? You're pretty arrogant, aren't you? In an instant, the young man's body stiffened and chilled. He subconsciously raised his head to look. Under the streetlight, a girl with lazy and bright eyes was leaning lazily against the wall. Her gaze was wanton and playful. Who are you? The young man felt that he looked familiar, but he couldn't recall who he was. But soon, Bei Yunji made him remember. She took a few steps forward. Before the young man could react, she suddenly grabbed his collar and yanked. He had no choice but to bend down and look into the pair of beautiful and cold eyes in front of him. I really can't bear to send you in just like that. She reached out again and patted his face gently, but the chill rose from his tailbone to the back of his head. So, aren't I here to settle the score with you first? Suddenly, the young man recognized this familiar voice and this face. Chapter 154. How could it be her? All the rationality in the young man's mind exploded. It was actually Bei Yunji. The person he was talking to just now was Bei Yunji. Bei Yunji, what are you trying to do? The young man snapped out of his daze and questioned her calmly. However, Bei Yunji only responded with a light laugh. She didn't seem to care, but her slender and fair hands suddenly grabbed the young man's collar and dragged him to the side of the alley. The young man, whose face was red from being strangled, staggered but couldn't break free at all. After the numbness in his scalp, a layer of fear surged in front of him. Bae. Bae Yunj. Bae, suddenly. Before the young man could finish speaking, the girl's knee hit his abdomen hard. Ah, the young man howled in pain and his entire body bent over, trembling. The intolerable pain made him hold his abdomen and kneel on the ground. Bae Yunj let go of her hand and looked down at him with her beautiful eyes. Is it very painful? My grandfather is in a lot of pain in the operating room too. She reached out again and lifted his chin. She slowly glanced at his fearful and painful expression. The corners of her lips curled up, but her tone sent chills down his spine. So, you have to bear with the pain now. As soon as she finished speaking, the young man was thrown to the right wall again. His internal organs were in so much pain that the veins on his forehead were popping out. He couldn't stand properly and fell to the ground. The young man's vision was a little blurry, but when he saw Bae Yunj approaching him again, he was only left with fear and spoke incoherently. Bae Yunj, don't. I didn't mean to target you. It's Qin Lang's fault. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have. Before the young man could finish speaking, the left side of his face was punched hard again, and the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. Are you trying to reason with me at a time like this? Bae Yunj moved her wrist and sneered again, but her eyes were cold. Last night, if something had really happened to the old man, she couldn't guarantee that this person would still be alive to be sent to the police station. Bae Yunj glanced at the young man lying on the ground, then looked at the time and smiled lazily. There's still more than half an hour. Let's continue to settle our accounts. Bae Yunj, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. You let me go. Aw. A sharp and tragic howl rang out, making one's scalp go numb in the night. Half an hour later. In the depths of the alley, the person lying on the ground was almost unrecognizable. He looked like he was on his last breath. The filthy blood on the ground meandered, making people want to scream at the sight of it. But at this moment. As for the girl beside him, there was no change in her beautiful face. Only the blood on her hand was dripping down drop by drop. Hence, this was the scene that the first person who accidentally bumped into them saw. Yu Manran was wearing a mask and sunglasses. When she heard the screams, she couldn't help but walk over. But she didn't expect to meet Bae Yunj here. Miss Pei. Yu Manran almost dropped the phone she was holding. The thought of calling the police immediately disappeared. However, when Bae Yunj turned around and looked at her, Yu Manran realized how cold Bae Yunj's gaze was. Even her usual laziness was nowhere to be seen. Miss Pei, how did you? Yu Manran was about to ask when she heard the sound of the police car. She was instantly flustered. Chapter 155. I know. Bae Yunj slowly wiped the blood off her hands. I was the one who called the police. These words stunned Yu Manran. Then, the first thought that flashed through his mind was that Bae Yunj had gone crazy. How could she call the police to arrest herself? However, following this, even Yu Manran did not expect that her first reaction would be to grab Bae Yunj's hand and run out. Before Bae Yunj could regain her senses, Yu Manran had already dragged her halfway down the street. In the end, the two of them entered a bar with many people watching them. After feeling that their surroundings were safe, Yu Manran let go of Bae Yunj's hand and started to gasp for breath. Okay, everything is fine now. Why are you here? This was the first time Bae Yunj had taken the initiative to ask about her. My family introduced me to a blind date. As a public figure, of course I can't go to places where people of the opposite sex can easily take photos. As soon as Yu Manran finished speaking, he suddenly remembered that when she had first met Bae Yunj, there had been a same-sex scandal the next day. #popular singer Yu Manran secretly meeting a same-sex partner at a bar in the middle of the night. When news like this was exposed, it would be very easy for an ordinary artist's popularity to plummet. But who would have thought that when the netizens saw Bae Yunj's blurry figure, they would already at her and ask if Bae Yunj could debut together with her. In fact, just an hour after the news was exposed, the number of her fans had increased by a few million. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't even dare to think about it. However, Yu Manran still got someone to delete these news in the end. She did not want to affect Bei Yunji's normal life. It's not very good for a female artist to come to a bar, Bei Yunj said casually. Yu Manran couldn't help but laugh. Do you also think that a female artist should accept those rules and regulations? Look at how many people are staring at you. Bei Yunj was right. An artist with her looks would be the most eye-catching in a bar. If it was a bar where crooks mixed in with honest folk, some of the more daring ones might do something stupid if they saw that Yu Manran did not bring any bodyguards with him. Then don't you have a lot of people? Yu Manran was halfway through his words when he suddenly remembered what Bei Yunj had just done in the deep alley. To Bei Yunj, there was no danger at all. Sure, but don't drink too much. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she felt the phone in her pocket vibrate. She glanced at the caller ID and subconsciously picked it up. But then, she suddenly remembered that she was in a bar. Previously, she had told Hwashidu that she was in the hospital. Bei Yunj, very soon. In the next moment, Bei Yunj clearly heard the man's low and magnetic voice in the noisy and impetuous atmosphere. It was inexplicably reassuring. Where are you? Bei Yunj was about to leave when she caught a glimpse of many people looking at her and Yu Manran from the corner of her eye. Immediately, she pulled Yu Manran's hand and walked out of the bar. Then, she gave Hwashidu the address of the street intersection. After hanging up the phone, Sing-Su, who was driving, felt the strange silence in the atmosphere and could not help but laugh dryly. Maybe Miss Pei is listening to people singing on the streets. This street art enthusiast. Hwashidu's casual gaze made Sing-Su shut up. Miss Pei was already 19 years old. Wasn't it normal for her to go to a bar? Chapter 156. After feeling the surrounding atmosphere turn even colder, Sing-Su only dared to minimize his presence. Master Du wouldn't go over to teach her a lesson, right? Sing-Su was silently worried for Bei Yunj. At this moment, Bei Yunj asked Yu Manran to call her manager. After about 10 minutes, the manager got out of the car anxiously. I say, ancestor, can't you be a little more obedient? Why did you suddenly come to such a place? With that said, the manager finally noticed Bei Yunj beside her. This is, then, before Yu Manran could introduce her, the manager's eyes suddenly lit up. Your Manman's rumored boyfriend? She was rich. Wasn't Manman's rumored boyfriend too good-looking? If she was in the entertainment industry, she would definitely become popular. Bei Yunj glanced at the manager, then at Yu Manran. Yunj, it was that time when our bar was photographed and the paparazzi posted it online. However, I suppressed the news that day. Yu Manran explained, afraid that Bei Yunj would misunderstand. You can leave. Bei Yunj nodded, not too bothered. Yunj, are you angry? Yu Manran was a little careful. No. Bei Yunj seemed to have recalled something. She smirked and reached out lazily to tidy Yu Manran's hair. Let's go. Yu Manran's face inexplicably heated up. He nodded and his voice became softer. Okay, then I'll get going first. Seeing this scene, the manager almost wondered if this was still Yu Manran. She could still see Sister Man blushing. However, until they got into the car. The manager suddenly remembered. Wait a minute, what's the name of the person who composed the song for you? It's her. Isn't she pretty? The manager was speechless. For a moment, she didn't know if she should poach someone to compose a song or debut. Don't think about it. She doesn't like the entertainment industry. However, if she's willing, I'll definitely do everything I can to help her reach the top. But she may not need it. Yu Manran's fangirl look made the manager's eyelids twitch. She was a popular B-lister after all. Had she lost all her pride as a female celebrity? On the streets, it was quiet all around. Bei Yunj leaned against the lamppost and took the initiative to open the headlines, which she rarely did. Sure enough, she saw the entry #Qin Lang's anti-fans arrested #. The comments section was also filled with heated discussions. This kind of rampant lawless person who uses technology should be jailed for a few more years. Grin, although. But I heard that when this person was captured, his breathing was almost broken. The first thing the investigators did was not to bring him back to the police station but to the hospital. Ha 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 ha, who did it? How ruthless. However, this person probably didn't expect that he would have to go to the hospital again after he was admitted to the hospital. Although my heart aches a little, I still want to say that the heavenly Tao is good at reincarnation. If Grandpa Chin hadn't been so lucky, he might have been dead by now. Smile, it's good that you caught him. I hope you can bring him to the psychiatrist. Perhaps it was because the anti-fans were caught too quickly that many people on the internet could not help but sigh at the efficiency of the police station. But in fact, they were also investigating who sent them the anonymous message. They gave them all the evidence and location. Such a person was either one of the few people from the A.M. Computing Institute or some hidden big shot. However. Chapter 157. When she called him just now, Bei Yunj did not think that Hushidu could not hear her in the noisy atmosphere of the bar. For the first time, she suddenly felt like she had been caught doing something wrong. Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched. Suddenly, she heard a meow. In the blink of an eye, she saw a little orange cat sitting on the street, looking pitiful. Seeing this, Bei Yunj suddenly smiled and sat beside the little orange cat. She rested her chin on one hand and sat by the roadside. They both looked pitiful. The little orange cat probably did not expect that someone would imitate it and pretend to be pitiful. It was instantly furious. It howled and ran away with its tail wagging. How petty. Bei Yunj laughed lazily. However, she was thinking in her heart that when Hushidu saw her sitting here later, he probably would not teach her a lesson on the street, right? Bei Yunj, who had always been very experienced and was very good at manipulating the psychology of elders, could also tell that Hushidu was not that easy to coax. Unknowingly, Bei Yunj did not notice that a car had stopped not far away. Someone also walked over. A handsome and arrogant man was dressed in a well-ironed black suit. His facial features were well-defined and his aura was ascetic. However, the corners of his eyes were curled up and inexplicably seductive. He subconsciously stopped in his tracks and looked at the girl sitting by the roadside not far away. He did not know what she was thinking. After a while, Bei Yunj turned her face and rubbed her red eyes. She still looked like she wanted to sleep but could not. Seeing this, most of the man's anger dissipated. Hushidu subconsciously tugged at his tie. Even 2 buttons of the white shirt inside were unbuttoned. His casual and frivolous posture was inexplicably lustful and sexy. In the next moment, Hushidu walked towards Bei Yunj and slowly took off his suit with one hand. Then, before Bei Yunj could mentally prepare herself, her vision suddenly turned pitch black. A faint and pleasant cold fragrance floated around. Brother. As soon as Bei Yunj finished speaking, someone suddenly went around her knees and hugged her. Shortly after, Bei Yunj instinctively wrapped her arms around the man's neck and pulled down the suit covering her head. As expected, the person she saw was Hushidu. Hushidu's expression was indifferent. He did not look at her, but his light and lazy magnetic voice tickled her ears. Cover your legs. Bei Yunj didn't have time to think it was strange. She lowered her head and saw the bloodstains on her blouse. It seemed to have been left by her leg accidentally. He pondered for a moment. Bei Yunj said frankly, "Brother, this blood doesn't belong to me." Hearing this, Hushidu finally lowered his head and glanced at her indifferently. However, before Hushidu could speak, Bei Yunj's eyes curved and she said, "Brother, you won't suddenly put me down halfway, right?" Looking at this pair of clear and obedient eyes, there shouldn't be anyone who could harden their heart. Back in the car. "Brother, is there anything you want to ask me?" Bei Yunj leaned closer to Hushidu and asked. When Sing-su, who was in front, saw that Bei Yunj was carried over by Hushidu, his heart could not calm down for a long time. Wasn't Master Du being too biased? Compared to little young Master, what kind of treatment was Miss Pei receiving? At this moment, Huashidu's slender and well-defined hand casually tapped Bei Yunji's forehead, not letting her continue to lean over. His tone was lazy, but it inexplicably made one's heart itch. Brother's anger hasn't subsided yet. Behave yourself. Chapter 158. Bei Yunji looked up with her clear eyes and suddenly curled up her beautiful eyes. She rubbed her head against his cold fingers. Her clear voice made one's heart itch. Don't, Brother Shidu. For a moment, the man's fingertips trembled slightly. His eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. Don't act coquettishly with me. Huashidu retracted his gaze and retracted his hand. He subconsciously played with the silver lighter. This little fellow knew very well that as long as she acted coquettishly, he would not be able to do anything to her. Then don't ignore me, brother. The smile in Bei Yunji's eyes did not diminish. Her eyes became brighter and she started to move closer to Huashidu again. This time, Huashidu pretended not to see and let her do as she pleased. Meanwhile, Sing-su, who was secretly observing the situation behind, was heartbroken. This Miss Pei was too good at coaxing Master Du. Was she the reincarnation of a vixen? Then, Bei Yunji was also talking to herself, not caring that there were other people around. What Sing-su saw was the little vixen staring at their Master Du brazenly. Words of coaxing came out of her mouth as soon as she opened it. After a while, Sing-su regained his senses and could not help but sigh. It was over. Master Du would definitely fall. Who could withstand this? After getting out of the car, Huashidu saw that the road ahead was a little dark. He slowed down and waited for the young lady behind to approach. When they returned to the living room, Aunt Meow came up to them. Miss, sir, you're finally back. I've already prepared supper. Do you want to eat together? No need. I'll go upstairs first to settle some company matters. Huashidu casually took off his tie and prepared to go upstairs. Seeing this, Aunt Meow immediately pulled Bei Yunji enthusiastically. Miss, try it. Mr. Hu really likes Miss Pei. In the past, Mr. Hu rarely went home to work. Aunt Meow could not stop smiling. She looked like a couple fan online. Aunt Meow, didn't you realize that brother is angry with me? Bei Yunji raised her eyebrows and looked at the man's back view. Is he? 20 minutes ago, sir called me to prepare supper for you, Aunt Meow said. Upon hearing this, Bei Yunji paused for a moment. She turned around and asked, Auntie Meow, can I bring the supper upstairs and eat with my brother? Sure, I'll go get a tray so that Miss Pei can bring it upstairs. Aunt Meow happily patted Bei Yunji's hand and hurried back to the kitchen. Seeing this, Bei Yunji was not surprised by Auntie Meow's enthusiasm. She sat on the sofa and thought about Qin Lang's anti-fans. That person didn't seem to hate Qin Lang all of a sudden. Instead, he seemed to have hated Qin Lang for a long time. But if that was the case, why didn't he make a move earlier? Bei Yunji's fingers kept tapping on the table. Her gaze was serene, and the corners of her lips gradually curled up. Then who was it that was controlling the situation from behind? Soon, Bei Yunji knocked on the door of the study with a tray in one hand. When she heard the sound inside, she walked in. Huashidu looked up. Obviously, he did not expect Bei Yunji to come over. She was still carrying 2 sets of supper. Brother, you haven't eaten yet, right? Bei Yunji placed the tray on the table, took a chair, and sat opposite Huashidu. She cupped her cheeks with both hands and smiled. Let's eat first. It's not too late to work after. Huashidu did not expect Bei Yunji to come up to persuade him to eat dinner. Chapter 159. The little girl still had some conscience. Huashidu put down his pen and looked at Bei Yunji. Is the bar fun? Huashidu asked in a light tone. Not really. Bei Yunji was halfway through her supper when she heard this question and almost choked. Seeing this, Hoshidu retracted his gaze and smiled silently. 20 minutes later. The two of them finished their supper quietly. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. After Aunt Meow pushed the door open, she smiled meaningfully and glanced at the two of them. Sir, miss, I'll take the cutlery away first. Okay. Hoshidu replied nonchalantly. After Aunt Meow left, his gaze landed on Bei Yunj, who did not intend to leave. Brother, don't be angry. I know I'm wrong. Bei Yunj saw that the noble and handsome man in front of her did not seem to be moved, so she added, in the future, I will study hard. Unexpectedly, the man's thin red lips curled up and his half-smiling voice sounded in a low voice. Really? Really? Bei Yunj did not even blink. But the next moment, Hoshidu suddenly stood up and walked towards the door with his long legs that were overly abstinent under his black suit pants. Coincidentally, Assistant Singh went to buy a stack of college entrance examination exercises for you last time. I'll get them for you. Hearing this, Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes twitched. She immediately stood up and followed behind Hoshidu. Brother, it's already night time. It's okay, I'll accompany you. The corners of Hoshidu's eyes curled up, mixed with an ambiguous gentleness. Just like his lazy and magnetic voice, it was thin and seductive. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the corners of Bei Yunj's mouth twitched. She silently remembered Sing Su. Just as Hoshidu was about to open the door, Bei Yunj tugged at his sleeve and said tactfully, Brother, it's better for us to be reasonable. Is that so? Then I'll listen. Hoshidu lifted his thin eyelids and leaned against the wall loosely. His posture was light and playful. Under the light, his pair of cold, pale-colored eyes were filled with deep and shallow light as he stared straight at her. The man's indifferent and abstinent appearance was both bad and lustful. Bei Yunj organized her thoughts. Brother, I'm already an adult. Actually, before he could finish his sentence. Suddenly, Bei Yunj heard a soft sound, and then somehow, the room fell into darkness. She subconsciously moved closer to Hoshidu, but unexpectedly, she bumped into a warm and firm chest. Through the thin shirt, she could still feel the man's hot and beating heart. A short while later, Bei Yunj heard him chuckle in a low voice. Even though she was in the dark, she could imagine his lazy and intimate posture at this moment, and his unhurried manner as he spoke. You still want to reason with your brother? Bei Yunj, what a childish and unreasonable man. Brother, turn on the lights. Bei Yunj moved away slightly, but her hand was still tightly holding onto Hoshidu's sleeve. Big brother is here. What are you afraid of? Hoshidu stretched out his hand lazily and pinched the back of her neck teasingly. Bei Yunj almost did not notice that when Hoshidu was around, she was not as uneasy and anxious as before. The next moment, Hoshidu still took care of the little girl's emotions. He turned on the lights and pinched her face. Next time, don't let your brother catch you going to the bar again. Also, why did you fight? After the light in front of Bei Yunj's eyes returned to normal, she let go of the man's sleeve. Chapter 160. She let go of Hoshidu's sleeve and looked elsewhere. Not even a fight. For some reason, Bei Yunj already felt that Hoshidu had discovered that she was afraid of the dark. However, before Bei Yunj could think further, the man beside her reached out and messed up her hair. Sure, but brother will be worried. Bei Yunj, whose hair was messy, was speechless. I don't know what made my little girl so angry. The man's deep and melodious voice rolled along with the sexy tip of his throat and overflowed. Hoshidu could tell that Bei Yunj was very concerned about old Master Qin. The person who could make her come out in the middle of the night and secretly fight obviously made the little girl very unhappy. He touched someone very important to me. Bei Yunj looked up and smiled at Hoshidu. Just like brother. Hearing this, Hoshidu's unwavering gaze landed on Bei Yunj. He chuckled softly and leaned closer to her. Is my union so powerful? The man's hoarse and magnetic voice was long and lazy, but it made people blush and their hearts beat faster. Then from now on, Yun has to protect brother well. Bei Yunj reacted. There was still someone who dared to provoke him. However, before that, Yun has to tell me everything. He held Bei Yunj's hand and seemed to be coaxing her casually. Yun, don't be afraid. Brother will be afraid. Bei Yunj paused and looked at the man in front of her. Suddenly, she wanted to ask a very stupid question. Brother, why are you so good to me? Bei Yunj blurted out. A moment later, she inadvertently met his eyes and her gaze seemed to burn. His eyes were dark, but after a while, his lips curled up lightly. Because, brothers Yun should get whatever she wants. The next day, Bei Yunj had just received a call from the form teacher to ask about her. After taking leave, she drove to the hospital again. Unexpectedly, the moment she pushed open the door, she saw Zhong Xinglin chatting with the old master. Why are you here so early? The old man's eyes lit up, and his tone became gentler. Bei Yunj nodded and put the porridge she had prepared on the table. Grandpa, have you eaten? Not yet. The old man said happily. When Zhong Xinglin heard that, he silently glanced at the porridge box that the old man had thrown away in the trash can. Then, Grandpa, try it. The taste of this congee is quite good. Bei Yunj opened the porridge box for the old man and handed him a pair of chopsticks. Then, he looked at Zhong Xinglin. Mr. Zhong, why are you here? I've been here for a long time. Zhong Xinglin's eyes were filled with grief. It had to be said that Zhong Xinglin felt sour in his heart. If he had such a granddaughter, he would treat her like a princess. How could he bear to let her buy food for him? I have some matters to discuss with Miss Pei in private. Zhong Xinglin added. Hearing this, Bei Yunj's fingers paused for a moment before she said casually, okay. In the garden downstairs. Miss Pei's aptitude is amazing. Before this, I really didn't expect that the headlines would be related to Miss Pei. I think Mr. Zhong should know that I have already signed a contract with Marcus. Bei Yunj didn't hesitate. When Zhong Xinglin heard Bei Yunj admit it personally, his heart was still in turmoil. She was only 19 years old. Marcus had said that the main project of their computing institute this year was Bei Yunj, with others as support. Chapter 161. After Zhong Xinglin came back to his senses, he quickly smiled again. Obviously, he had come prepared this time. Miss Pei, don't you like the research institute in our country? Zhong Xinglin asked with a smile. The spirit of the contract. The corners of Bei Yunj's lips curled up as she turned to look at him, her eyes bright. Actually, I also considered the A.M. Computing Institute back then. However, I don't meet the conditions of your institute. Hearing this, Zhong Xinglin was stunned for a moment. He quickly remembered the recruitment requirements of the A.M. Computing Institute. The first rule was that they only recruited undergraduate students and above, but no one expected a high school student to be so capable. Miss Pei, Zhong Xinglin choked for a moment. Bei Yunj couldn't help but laugh. It's quite normal. All the computing institutes in the country are like this. Zhong Xinglin heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. Fortunately, Bei Yunj wasn't angry because of this. In fact, Bei Yunj also understood that if it wasn't for Mother Pei in her previous life, she wouldn't have been able to work at the research institute at the age of 12. That's not right. Zhong Xinglin suddenly reacted. Marcus and the others only recruit undergraduate students and above. Why did you hack into their institute and not ours? Their salary is high, Bei Yunj said frankly. Zhong Xinglin was speechless. That made sense. All the current members of Marcus's computing institute who had been employed for more than 2 years could apply for a seaside villa in our nation. However, according to Marcus's bragging in the group last time, Bei Yunj was already teaching interns. In that case, Bei Yunj was already qualified to apply. No. He couldn't let Bei Yunj have the idea of emigrating. But Miss Pei still has her studies to complete in the country. She shouldn't be planning to go abroad in the next few years, right? Zhong Xinglin smiled and said, if that's the case, it's actually not convenient for Miss Pei to sign with Marcus and the others. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and asked, what do you mean, Elder Zhong? Why don't you be A.M.'s foreign aide? Zhong Xinglin smiled. Since he could not poach her directly, he would wait for an opportunity to build a good relationship with Bei Yunj first. Foreign aide? Bei Yunj asked. Miss Pei doesn't have to sign a contract with A.M., but she can enter and leave our place at will and use any of our facilities. Zhong Xinglin chuckled. Miss Pei, you don't like to be disturbed, do you? But that won't do you any good, Elder Zhong. Who said that? Zhong Xinglin laughed and said, Miss Pei shouldn't have signed a long-term contract with Marcus, right? Actually, I don't have any other intentions. I just hope that Miss Pei will consider A.M. after her contract expires. Of course, if Miss Pei still doesn't like it, you can still continue to be our foreign aid member. Thank you. If Elder Zhong needs me, feel free to let me know. Bei Yunj didn't hesitate and smiled. She did need an atmosphere to immerse herself in, but it was obviously not enough at home. A.M. was indeed her best choice. Then it's settled. Zhong Xinglin couldn't stop smiling when he heard this. Okay. Bei Yunj nodded. Soon. Zhong Xinglin watched Bei Yunj leave and hurriedly called Marcus. A few minutes later, the call went through. Zhong Xinglin hurriedly hid the smile on his face and coughed lightly. Old thing, are you crazy? Do you know what time it is? Chapter 162. But what Marcus did not expect was, next, he wanted to kill someone even more. It's nothing, Xiao Ma. I'm just thinking that it's not easy for us to be brothers for so many years. Thank you. Zhong Xinglin coughed softly and said gently. Unexpectedly, Marcus laughed. It's not easy. When we were still university alumni, our hairlines were the same. Now that I'm by your side, others might think that you're my father, right? Zhong Xinglin also put on a fake smile. Don't think that I don't know that you didn't go to the seminar last year because you secretly went for a hair transplant. Nonsense. I didn't. Marcus immediately retorted. Zhong Xinglin chuckled. You're already so old and you're still faking it. I'm really embarrassed for you. Marcus tried his best to suppress his anger and smiled. Don't be jealous of our institute this year. There's another ruthless character coming this year. You're deliberately talking nonsense. Wait, Marcus, I almost forgot to tell you something. What? Marcus suddenly had a bad premonition. Your new member, right? I'll take good care of her for you. All the members of A.M. will take good care of her, Zhong Xinglin said considerately. What? Tell me clearly. Does our member need you to take care of her? Marcus was instantly jolted awake when he heard this. Damn, I've already told Bei Yunj that she doesn't need to sign any contract. Our institute will let her use it for free. You don't have to be polite. Your member is my member. We're all family, Zhong Xinglin comforted him. Who's family with an old man like you? Zhong Xinglin, don't you have any shame? Marcus gritted his teeth. In the end, he still couldn't guard against the old fox. All right, I'm hanging up. Good night, Marcus. Zhong Xinglin hung up the phone with a smile. He felt refreshed and refreshed. Who asked him to show off every day? He had finally vented his anger today. However, Marcus, on the other hand, was no longer sleepy. He wished he could buy a plane ticket right now to murder Zhong Xinglin. Good man, just you wait. Don't think that I can't deal with you just because you're hiding in country A. Marcus quickly got out of bed and opened his mailbox. When he saw the report in country A and Zhong Xinglin's name, he immediately replied to the email. After doing all this, Marcus beamed with joy. Surnamed Zhong, pray that you can survive the next month. Until the next day. When Bei Yunj returned to school, she found out that something had happened to her again yesterday. Early in the morning, the head of teaching was waiting for her in class. Bae Yunj, you have the right to not work hard. But as a high school student, you should abide by the school rules. You're not here to ruin Hengda's reputation. The dean's face darkened. When Bae Yunj heard this, he lazily glanced at Chu Zhixing and raised his eyebrows. He was asking him what was going on. Chu Zhixing stood up. Director, Bae Yunj is not that kind of student. She's not in puppy love. Hearing this, Bae Yunj couldn't help but chuckle. She was a little surprised. She didn't expect that this phrase would be related to her now. You think that's true just because you say so. After school on Thursday, we'll meet at the pavilion at the back of the school at 6:30 p.m. This is written clearly. Who else could have framed her? Bae Yunj raised his eyelids and casually tore off the letter. Pei Yun. Chapter 163. In an instant. The dean shut his mouth subconsciously. The chill on his back did not go away for a long time. How could a student have such a terrifying gaze? Sure enough, she was not a good student in the past. Did you find this letter in my seat? Bae Yunj looked at Chu Zhixing. Chu Zhixing's expression was ugly, but he could only nod. At noon yesterday, the dean seemed to have received an anonymous report that someone in Class 7 was in a relationship. Later, when the dean came to Class 7 to lecture them, the Chinese class representative in the class happened to be collecting homework. As for the letter, it came from Bae Yunj's homework. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. Teacher, this was found in my seat. Is it mine? Bae Yunj asked carelessly in return. What else could it be? The dean's expression was not very good. However, when Bae Yunj heard this, her overly beautiful eyebrows relaxed and she smiled lazily. She casually sat in her seat and suddenly took out stacks of love letters from her drawer. There were 3 stacks in total, which could fill half of the drawer. Teacher, which one are you talking about? For a moment, the atmosphere fell into a strange silence. Bae Yunj lazily pulled off her gray tie, looking bright and high-spirited. Every frown and smile of hers was charming. The dean's face was so dark that it could drip ink. Obviously, he did not expect Bae Yunj to be in such a situation. Even the students in the class were in disbelief. Didn't they say that Bae Yunj had a bad reputation in school? Did all the boys not like this kind of girl who looked like a womanizer? All of them were pig trotters. Oh no, my gay friend secretly gave her a love letter last time. She can't be so unlucky, right? A delicate girl next to her said uneasily. Your gay friend, the one from Class 1. Yes. Isn't that a girl? Can't a girl give a love letter? She retorted. At this moment, everyone fell silent. Okay. It turned out that it was not only boys who gave her love letters. Bae Yunj, what kind of nonsense are you doing at school? The dean's face was ashen. If Bae Yunj hadn't messed around, would so many people have sent her love letters? All of a sudden. Why is it so quiet? Lu Yuanxi, who had arrived late, glanced at everyone before focusing his gaze on Bae Yunj's table. He said in an unhappy tone, why do you have more than me? Then, before anyone could react, they saw their school bully take out 2 big stacks of love letters from the drawer. Although Lu Yuanxi had fewer tickets than Bae Yunj, it was still the first time Class 7 had seen such a big scene. Moments later, Lu Yuanxi's eyes were sharp. He picked out a pink envelope from Bae Yunj's stack of envelopes, and then took out the envelope on top of his own. Both letters were signed by the same girl. Bae Yunj, Lu Yuanxi chuckled. You're still casting a net? At the same time, the girl who was worried about her friend suddenly froze when she saw the familiar envelope. She didn't expect her friend to be someone who was secretly doing something big. She gave the same type of love letter to her deskmate. What kind of silly person would do such a thing? Bae Yunj glanced at the name on the love letter, lazily reached out to pull it back and casually stuffed it into the drawer. You don't have one. Bae Yunj sneered. Lu Yuanxi. Chapter 164. Dean, do I have to be punished just because I received a love letter? Lu Yuanxi's voice had the unique magnetism of a young man as he chuckled softly. Then can I still graduate in this lifetime? Hearing this, the people in the class did not dare to laugh too loudly, but the dean's face was livid. He glanced at Bei Yunj and Lu Yuanxi darkly. Both of you, come to my office. With that said, the dean left class 7. However, if this was in the past, Lu Yuanxi would never go over. But now, seeing Bei Yunj walk out, he could only follow her. Bei Yunj. In the long corridor, Lu Yuanxi shouted from behind. What's wrong? Bei Yunj asked. Qin Youjiao, has she harmed you before? Lu Yuanxi asked. Hearing this, Bei Yunj turned around and chuckled softly. You're asking me? I'll believe you if you say it. Lu Yuanxi looked at her calmly. Before this, he had always thought that this was a trivial matter between girls. However, ever since Mrs. Qin came to school and caused a ruckus, he realized that he was wrong. Bei Yunj was surprised. She looked at Lu Yuanxi. Don't you like Qin Youjiao? Lu Yuanxi furrowed his eyebrows. It's admiration, okay? You're my desk mate, I know you better. If she... Student Lu, do you remember the last time Qin Youjiao came to school with a bandage on her arm? Bei Yunj's eyes curved into crescents, looking wild and playful. I did it. With that said, without waiting for Lu Yuanxi to react, she walked towards the office. Bei Yunj had always been someone who did as she pleased and did not like to explain too much to others. In the original novel, Lu Yuanxi had indeed fallen for Qin Youjiao, so Bei Yunj did not intend to make him believe anything. In the office, Bei Yunj had just arrived when she heard the dean call Mrs. Qin. However, the dean did not expect that the moment he mentioned Bei Yunj's name, Mrs. Qin would hang up the call very quickly without saying anything. At this moment, the dean's expression changed. However, Bei Yunj's form teacher rushed over. Director, Bei Yunj just started class today. Why don't I take her first? Before the homeroom teacher could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by the dean. If you didn't spoil her, she wouldn't be so arrogant. Hunda's reputation is going to be ruined by her alone. Ignorant and incompetent, completely unlike a student. Sir, you don't understand student pay. Actually, student pay. The form teacher explained patiently. Cut the crap. Get her parents here now. The teaching director said angrily. The homeroom teacher glanced at Bei Yunj. When she thought of the explicit letter, she felt a little helpless. She had no choice but to take out her phone and send a message to the Bei Yunj's parents group. Class 7's homeroom teacher, hello, parents. I'm sorry for disturbing you. May I ask if the two of you have time to come to school at this time? Qin Yu, yes. Qin Lang, sure. The head teacher's eyelids twitched as he carefully typed in the message. Head teacher of class 7, 1 is enough, Rose, Qin Lang, me. Qin Yu, what does it have to do with you? Question, Qin Lang at class 7's homeroom teacher, teacher 1, I've already taken my keys and left the house. Seeing these messages, the homeroom teacher's heart skipped a beat, afraid that the two of them would start scolding each other. But in the next moment, the homeroom teacher saw a message notification. The group leader, Qin Yu, has removed the group member, Qin Lang, from the group chat. Chapter 165. Then, Qin Yu sent another message. Qin Yu, I'm ignorant. I've made a fool of myself in front of teacher 1. Qin Yu, where is her? Qin Yu, flower for you. JPG, the form teacher's eyelids twitched, as if she had just finished watching a battle between wealthy families. With trembling hands, she sent Qin Yu the school building number. Soon. After Qin Lang realized that he had been removed from the group, he sent messages to Qin Yu crazily. Yes, are you human? Question, Qin Yu, pull him back. Did you hear that? Okay, Qin, I'm going to expose your ugly face now and let your fans see what kind of dog they have become fans of. Smile, smile, however, at this moment. Qin had already gotten into the nanny van and went to Hengda High School with a clear conscience. Then, he glanced at the dozen or so messages sent by Qin Lang as if nothing had happened. His fingers moved lazily and he blocked the person directly. At the same time, Qin Lang, who was at the base, had just sent a message when he received a red exclamation mark. Qin, this old B** starred, Hengda High School. Everyone gathered at the entrance of the office and discussed animatedly. How long had it been since she had transferred schools? They almost didn't know how many times Bei Yunja's parents had come to school. However, everyone was obviously watching the show. Ever since Mrs. Qin publicly cut ties with her, everyone finally knew that Bei Yunj was not an illegitimate daughter, but Mrs. Qin's biological daughter. They were really curious about the attitude of the parents of a wealthy young lady towards puppy love. Not far away, at the staircase, Qin Yojiao stood beside a girl who could barely be considered pretty. Don't worry, no one will suspect you. Will we really not be exposed? The girl's expression was empty as she muttered in fear. The information in the report letter can only prove that it's a girl from class 7. No one will think that it's you. But, Bei Yunj. The girl felt guilty. Qin Yojiao interrupted her with a smile. Think about it carefully. If you don't let Bei Yunj take the blame, they will still suspect you in the end. Do you still want this semester's scholarship? Hearing the last sentence, the girl's body stiffened, her face turned pale, and her clenched fists gradually loosened. I understand. She glanced at the half-closed office door and slowly began to convince herself. It's okay. Bei Yunj did not have a good reputation. She was the daughter of the Qin family. Someone would settle everything for her. This matter wouldn't cause any trouble at all. The girl's heart was still in a mess. However, when she saw Qin Yu walking down the stairs, her eyes lit up but quickly dimmed. An unknown emotion rose in her heart. Bei Yunj was really lucky. She was born with what others envied. On the other hand, she had to worry about the scholarship every day, afraid that she wouldn't be able to save enough money for the next semester's tuition fees. Look! Was that Qin Yu? F***ck, Qin Yu is here to be Bei Yunja's guardian. What kind of godly fate does Bei Yunj have? You're not surprised, right? You didn't know that Mrs. Qin came to school to cause trouble last time, right? You didn't see how Qin Yu and Qin Lang doted on their sister. They were very fierce. What? There's such a thing. I'm envious. However, don't the Qin brothers like Qin Yojiao more? Chapter 166. That's true. Qin Yojiao is a proud girl. How can her parents be called over? Only Bei Yunj can get this treatment. Yeah. Who doesn't like a smarter and more capable sister? Hearing these words, a dark look flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she remembered Qin Yu's attitude towards her recently. Student Qin, I'll go over and take a look first. The girl did not notice Qin Yojiao's expression and only said. Okay, go ahead. Qin Yojiao smiled, but after the girl left, the smile on her face immediately disappeared. Bei Yunj, you're really capable. You can actually force me to this extent. Qin Yojiao stared at the staircase expressionlessly before suddenly bursting into laughter. Her pretty face was almost twisted. Soon. Just as everyone could not help but secretly take out their phones to take photos of Qin Yu, they suddenly heard a scream not far away. Soon, someone shouted. Oh no! Qin Yojiao fell downstairs. Is there anyone coming over? Bring her to the hospital quickly. These words immediately shocked everyone. They didn't expect that these things would happen one after another on the same day. Go quickly, what are you waiting for? Go and get the teacher to inform the parents. The girl who had always been on good terms with Qin Yojiao helped her up anxiously and shouted at them. Wait, isn't Qin Yu here? That's Qin Yojiao's second brother. Let Qin Yu send her to the hospital. Yeah, hurry and find Qin Yu. At this moment, many people surged to look for Qin Yu. After that, just as Qin Yu reached the third floor, a girl said softly with a red face. Mr. Qin, student Qin Yojiao fell downstairs and is very serious now. She's at the staircase over there. Do you want to? Hearing this, Qin Yu looked up slowly. His eyes were still handsome and arrogant, making people dazed. However, in the next moment, everyone saw Qin Yu buttoning up his black suit and speaking slowly. I'm sorry, can you move aside? This attitude made the blushing girl's face turn pale and her body stiffen on the spot. Seeing this, Qin Yu walked around the girl and prepared to continue looking for the office. Mr. Qin. Are you going to look for Bei Yunj? But Qin Yojiao is injured now, how can you? Contact her parents if you have any problems. I'm just Bei Yunj's brother. Qin Yu's low and magnetic voice was slightly impatient and he did not give her any extra glances. His attitude caused everyone to be dumbstruck. What's going on? Did Qin Yu mean that Qin Yojiao was not his younger sister and Bei Yunj was his younger sister? Wait, why couldn't they understand what he was saying? Was this world a fantasy? At this very moment, when the girl heard this, she felt an inexplicable sense of hostility towards Bei Yunj. She could not help but say bitterly, even if Mr. Qin quarreled with Qin Yojiao, he shouldn't ignore her like this. Meanwhile, not far away, a gentle voice sounded. Second brother. Following that, everyone turned around and saw Qin Yojiao's leg covered in blood. She was being supported by someone as she struggled to walk over with reddened eyes. Qin Yojiao hid the strong hatred towards Bei Yunj in her eyes. If it wasn't for Bei Yunj, she wouldn't have braced herself and done this just to make Qin Yu's heart ache for her. However, as long as Qin Yu was willing to take her to the hospital, she would win this battle. At this thought, Qin Yojiao's frown eased. Chapter 167. Within moments, Qin Yojiao's eyes were red as she sobbed. Second brother, Jiao hurts. With that said, Qin Yojiao still walked forward, wanting to hug Qin Yu's waist and act coquettishly. Even the others who saw this scene were moved. Thinking about it, no matter how angry Qin Yu was at Qin Yojiao, his anger would definitely dissipate when he saw his goddess sister like this. But in the next second, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded appeared. After Qin Yu saw Qin Yojiao pouncing on him, a layer of defense automatically appeared all over his body, as if he had been approached by germs. Then, before Qin Yojiao could hug Qin Yu moved to the side and avoided Qin Yojiao's contact. As for Qin Yojiao, she fell to the ground. She fell miserably and was in a sorry state. Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. They even forgot to help Qin Yojiao up. How dangerous. After a while, Qin Yu heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Qin Yojiao did not touch him. Otherwise, if Gu heard about it, he would be unclean. Second brother, Qin Yojiao was stunned from the fall. When she regained her senses, she looked at Qin Yu in shame and disbelief, her face livid. She had never been treated like this since she was young. Besides, this person was her second brother. Don't shout. It'll make people misunderstand our relationship. There was no emotion in Qin Yu's ink-black eyes. His deep and superior eyes made him look unreasonable. These words made everyone even more confused about the Qin family's affairs. Wasn't Bei Yunj the one who had been cut off? Then what was going on between Qin Yojiao and Qin Yu? Wasn't Qin Yojiao the most doted on by her brothers? However, looking at the situation in front of him, Qin Yu would rather Qin Yojiao fall in front of him than touch her. Those who didn't know better would think that Qin Yojiao was sick. Is it because mom hates Bei Yunj that second brother thinks that I did this? Qin Yojiao bit her lip and asked in a trembling voice, ignoring the injuries all over her body. The emotions in Qin Yu's eyes were unclear and there was a faint mocking smile on his thin lips. He actually treated a person like Qin Yojiao, who was ruthless to herself, like a little white rabbit in his previous life. However, when the others heard this, they all thought that they had heard the inside story of a wealthy family. It turned out that Qin Youjiao and Qin Yu did not have a good relationship because of Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj's methods were indeed amazing. First, she had received the Qin family's acknowledgement, and now, even Qin Yu was coaxed into submission. However, it was no wonder. After all, Qin Yu was not at home all year round and did not know anything. At a time like this, you still want to drag her down? Qin Yu's question made Qin Youjiao's body stiffen. Soon, tears filled her eyes again and she said aggrievedly, "Second brother, I didn't." Suddenly, the door of the office beside her was pushed open and the teacher was shocked when she saw Qin Youjiao lying on the floor covered in blood. What's going on? Everyone was silent. After all, she couldn't say that Qin Youjiao had fallen herself and wanted to hug Qin Yu later, but he avoided her. That's why it dealt a second round of damage, right? Ridiculous. Hurry up and help him up. What are you all looking at? After the teacher finished speaking, she suddenly paused and realized that Qin Yu was among the people watching the show. Qin Yu looked at Qin Youjiao with an indifferent gaze. He snorted softly and the corners of his lips curled up. Qin Youjiao, do you think everything will be fine just because you have someone protecting you at home? Chapter 168. The emotions in Qin Yu's eyes were so indifferent that it made one's heart turn cold. Next time, if you find trouble with again, I won't give you face either. I didn't. Qin Youjiao's eyes widened, but her heart was filled with fear. Qin Yu snorted. Isn't it very clear if you did what happened in the forum? Hearing this, Qin Youjiao felt as if she had been splashed with ice water and the coldness seeped into her bones. However, very quickly, the teacher helped her up and interrupted everyone's thoughts. What are you all looking at? Is there anyone who can help her? Send her to the hospital first. At this moment, Qin Yu did not want to waste time on Qin Youjiao. He tidied his clothes and walked into the office. He wanted to see which brat dared to touch his little princess. In the office, Lu Yuanxi could not help but tug at Bei Yunj's clothes secretly, wanting to talk to Bei Yunj. Hey, shut up. Before anyone could react, Qin Yu strode forward and pulled Bei Yunj behind him. He glanced at Lu Yuanxi darkly. Who allowed you to talk to my sister? The rest of the people were speechless. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Did he have to go through procedures to talk to his deskmate these days? You're Bei Yunj's guardian. The dean recognized Qin Yu at a glance, but he did not expect Qin Yu to appear in front of him as Bei Yunj's guardian. When the form teacher beside him saw Qin Yu's cold gaze, he thought of how the brothers in this family almost fought with each other, let alone Lu Yuanxi. Hence, he hurriedly explained, Brother Bei Yunj, this is not Bei Yunj's puppy love. Hearing this, the coldness on Qin Yu dissipated a lot. However, before the dean could speak, he heard Qin Yu say coldly from above, Tell me, who wants to defile my sister? These words made people suspect that Qin Yu was not here to solve the problem, but to seek revenge, soon. The dean gave a fake smile. Mr. Qin, this isn't someone else's problem. We received a report that someone in class 7 is in a puppy love. Coincidentally, we found a letter between Bei Yunj and that boy yesterday. Are you saying that it's my sister's problem? Qin Yu chuckled. His ink-like eyes were filled with a faint coldness. The dean looked embarrassed. He didn't expect that the young masters of the Qin family were all bewitched and thought that Bei Yunj was innocent. He forced a smile on his face and said weakly, That's the truth, you're the head of teaching, right? Qin Yu's eyes were filled with mockery as he pulled Bei Yunj into his arms. Did you see my sister's face clearly? If you fall in love at such a young age, you'll only be seduced. Bei Yunj, Lu Yuanxi and the homeroom teacher, were the brothers of the Qin family so obsessed with their sister that they had lost their minds? The dean did not expect this to happen when he called Bei Yunj's parents over. His expression was ugly. In the end, he took a deep breath and handed the letter to Qin Yu. This letter fell out of Bei Yunj's homework book. Other than Bei Yunj, no one else in class 7 has transferred schools. Hearing this, Qin Yu took the letter and looked at it. One of the sentences was written, "Thank you for appearing. From the moment you transferred to class 7, I couldn't take my eyes off you. I'll see you at the school pavilion on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. After reading it, the coldness around Qin Yu was terrifying. P.S. End of 2 chapters. Why are all of you so hardworking? You little rascals. Chapter 169. Unable to give up. Ha, was this brat too stubborn? How dare he have designs on Qin Yu's sister? Qin Yu's handsome face darkened. At this moment, Bei Yunj happened to glance at the girl who had just chatted with Qin Yojiao. This seemed to be their class's Chinese class representative. Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved slightly and she noticed that the girl was tidying up her exercise books while looking at them from time to time with sparkling eyes. Seeing this, Bei Yunj's lips curled up. Suddenly, everyone heard Bei Yunj say slowly, "Teacher 1, am I the only girl who transferred from our class?" With that said, Bei Yunj saw from the corner of her eye that the girl froze and did not dare to breathe. Yes, the form teacher took a deep breath and nodded. Then, Bei Yunj raised her eyes slightly. Where's the person who changed shifts? In an instant, the girl, who had been able to calm down just now, dropped the exercise books she was holding onto the floor. Similarly, her loss of composure attracted everyone's attention. I remember. Xie Ziyue transferred from class 1 to class 7 in year 1. The form teacher suddenly remembered. Teacher 1, are you suspecting me? Xie Ziyue's face was filled with disbelief and her voice couldn't help but raise. Teacher 1, are you siding with Bei Yunj because of Bei Yunj's background? Another girl in the office immediately grabbed Xie Ziyue's hand and mocked the form teacher. Bei Yunj's family is rich, but you can't slander others for no reason, right? Teacher 1, have you forgotten who won glory for our class this time and got into the top 20 of the cohort? At this point, she glanced at Bei Yunj with disdain and changed the topic. Unlike a certain someone who always causes trouble and thinks she's so great. Is it your place to talk about my sister? Qin Yu's cold voice sounded. This made the girl who had spoken up for Xie Ziyue turn red and pale. She didn't expect Qin Yu to be so protective of Bei Yunj. How many girls of this age hadn't liked Qin Yu? At this moment, it was the girl's first time seeing Qin Yu's handsome face and she couldn't help feeling wronged. Even if Bei Yunj is your sister, she will only drag you down and ruin your reputation. She bit her lip as if she was thinking for Qin Yu. Qin Yojiao is more like your sister. You don't have to do it for Bei Yunj. Suddenly, Qin Yu snorted softly. His magnetic and sexy voice was filled with extremely cold disdain. So what if I have a good reputation? Can you compare to half a strand of my gu? These words. Qin Yu, so what if you're popular in the entertainment industry now? The girl pointed at Bei Yunj, the sourness and jealousy in her chest making her unable to think. A person like her is a scourge. My gu is my life. No one has the right to point fingers. Qin Yu's expression was lazy and he suddenly smirked. As for the other person you mentioned, can she be compared to my gu her? I, Qin Yu, only have one biological sister, and that's Bei Yunj. Not to mention the other students, even the teachers were confused by these words. Bei Yunj had not appeared in the Qin family for more than 10 years. Suddenly, she had become the legitimate young lady of the Qin family. And now, Qin Yu was starting to disown Qin Yojiao. Wasn't she the princess that the Qin family doted on? Chapter 170. But now, no matter who looked at it, they felt that the rumors were fake. This Qin Yojiao didn't look like someone who was doted on at all. At this moment, Qin Yu's ink-like eyes were cold and his tone was impatient. Regardless of whether he talked to my baby or not, let that brat come out now. Ha! A toad still wanted to touch his swan princess. He was tired of living. This. We still don't know who is in a relationship with Bei Yunj. The dean's expression changed. Hearing this, Qin Yu turned to look at the dean with an even colder gaze. He smiled faintly. So, just based on this letter, you're insisting that my sister is in a relationship? Not really. Before this, a classmate reported that a student from class 7 was in a relationship. I also saw that letter fall out of Bei Yunji's workbook when I was inspecting. The dean was terrified. After all, this was the second young master of the Qin family and the most popular best actor in the entertainment industry. Dean, the situation is not clear yet. We can't say that this letter is from Bei Yunji, the form teacher couldn't help but say. Teacher Wen, you mean that I'm the one in a relationship? Xie Ziyue suddenly became agitated. She covered her lips with both hands and her shoulders trembled slightly. It was as if she had suffered a great grievance. The form teacher was speechless. Teacher Wen, as teachers, we need to be fair. The dean suddenly said in a low voice. In his opinion, Bei Yunji was ignorant and incompetent and would only cause trouble. However, Xie Ziyue was different. She was the one who received the scholarship every year and was even the vice class monitor of class 7. She was a typical good student. Between the two of them, Bei Yunji was the only one who was in a relationship. The form teacher's lips moved, but in the end, he could only say, Dean is right, Bei Yunji, didn't you refuse to admit it? Then explain yourself and make us believe you. The dean's tone was stern. Whether I admit it or not has nothing to do with whether I need to explain or not. She chuckled lazily. You. Also, Dean, do I need to hide my relationship? Bei Yunji seemed to be stating the truth casually. For a moment, it was hard to refute him. After that, she sneered and tapped the table with her fingertips. If that's really the case, how embarrassing would he be for me? How could he be so unpresentable? Lu Yuanxi couldn't help but burst into laughter when he heard Pei Yan's unique words. However, after laughing, he felt Qin Yu's dark gaze from the side. Lu Yuanxi, as expected of his brother, his sense of danger was extremely strong. The dean flew into a rage out of humiliation. Bei Yunji, don't be unreasonable. Hengda's director is so capable now. Qin Yu's cold voice sounded slowly. Suddenly, the dean's expression changed. No. Mr. Qin, you misunderstood. My Qin family has invested a lot in Hengda this year. It's more than enough to change the teaching director for the second year. Qin Yu's words immediately made the dean's face pale. The rest of the people did not expect Qin Yu to threaten someone in public for Bei Yunji. Bei Yunji's thin eyelids moved and after glancing at Qin Yu, she remained silent. Suddenly, Xie Ziyue spoke. I remember that before. Ren Pengfei often came to our class. She gritted her teeth. Chapter 171. However, her friend froze when she heard what Xie Ziyue said. Didn't Ren Pengfei come to class 7 often to look for Xie Ziyue? The girl stared at Xie Ziyue with wide eyes and suddenly remembered the ambiguous relationship between Ren Pengfei and Xie Ziyue, so this letter was not from Bei Yunji, but from Xie Ziyue? But then, when the girl came back to her senses, she looked at Xie Ziyue with a complicated expression. Finally, she lowered her head and chose to remain silent. She could not testify against her friend just because of Bei Yunji. Ren Pengfei. The form teacher had some impression of this student. He seemed to be from class 1. Moreover, he was from the same school as Bei Yunji and had transferred to Hengda. However, one of them had transferred in the second semester of senior high. The other had transferred in this semester. Yes, Ren Pengfei said himself that Bei Yunji had pursued him before. Xie Ziyue turned to look at her friend. Aya was the one who told me about this. Isn't that right, Aya? Aya stiffened and nodded. Yes. Hearing this, the atmosphere became even colder. Even the form teacher felt that in this situation, it would be very difficult for Bei Yunji to clear her name. Do you know Ren Pengfei? Lu Yuanxi asked Bei Yunji in a low voice. Bei Yunji was silent for a while before she pursed her red lips and said coldly, I know him. Strictly speaking, it was the original owner who knew Ren Pengfei. He was the boy from the next class whom the original owner knew when she was in high school. He was also one of the bullies who had bullied the original owner. At first, the original owner did not suffer much malice when she was in high school. But inexplicably, one day, Ren Pengfei started to pester the original owner. This caused the original owner to be looked down upon by the girls in the class. They thought that the original owner had deliberately seduced him. Otherwise, why would Ren Pengfei like her? Later, after a period of pointing fingers at her, the original owner could not take it anymore and rejected Ren Pengfei in front of everyone. But the original owner did not expect that this would be the beginning of her nightmare. Because of Ren Pengfei's instigation, everyone began to maliciously attack her and humiliate her. After recalling all this, Bei Yunj slowly rubbed her fingertips. Suddenly, Aya said, I heard that Ren Pengfei transferred schools because of a girl, right? As soon as he finished speaking, the expressions of the dean and the homeroom teacher changed. Indeed. Ren Pengfei transferred schools because he impregnated a girl in that school. Later, his father gave a lot of money to the girl's family to keep the peace. Then, he changed schools for his son. Hurry up and get Ren Pengfei here. The dean's face darkened. The students of Hengda would never allow such humiliation to exist. If Bei Yunj and Ren Pengfei really did something shameful, he would definitely ask the principal to kick them out of Hengda. After someone went to look for Ren Pengfei, Bei Yunj's eyes fell on Xie Ziyue. Xie Ziyue's body stiffened. She didn't dare to look Bei Yunj in the eye, but she pretended to be calm. Love at this age is really fragile. Bei Yunj's eyes were bright and unscrupulous. She did not care about the dean's expression, who looked like he wanted to eat her alive. Bei Yunj, what nonsense are you talking about? Xie Ziyue's teeth were almost chattering. She held on for dear life. Dean, if we find out who wrote this letter in the end, what will you do? What do you plan to do? Bei Yunj asked slowly. Chapter 172. The dean didn't even think about it. You'll be expelled. Hearing this, Xie Ziyue almost lost her balance. Beside her, Xiaoya's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect the matter to blow up so badly. In the past, the school had caught many couples in puppy love, but at most, they would reflect on themselves or be punished. But this time, the situation was obviously serious. Okay. Bei Yunj smiled carelessly. 10 minutes later. Just then, a boy who didn't even look handsome walked in. He had a strong body and weak-colored skin. Dean, why are you looking for me? With that said, Ren Pengfei suddenly noticed Xie Ziyue beside him and his heart skipped a beat. But soon, he noticed another beautiful girl next to him. She looked a little familiar. After that, when Ren Pengfei regained his senses, his eyes widened in disbelief. Your Pei, Ren Pengfei. Who did you send this letter to? The dean slammed the table angrily, scaring Ren Pengfei. Then, Ren Pengfei noticed the gazes around him. When he met Lu Yuanxi's eyes, he was stunned. Why was Lu Yuanxi here? But soon, Ren Pengfei stopped thinking about this question. He glanced around and did not expect to meet Qin Yu's cold eyes. They were filled with a strong hostility and danger. Ren Pengfei's legs almost turned to jelly. Why was Qin Yu here too? Besides, he was looking at him with such a terrifying gaze. Ren Pengfei, do you think this letter was from Bei Yunj or Ziyue? Aya said immediately. Hearing this, Ren Pengfei immediately understood what was going on. He looked at Bei Yunj maliciously and was surprised. It turned out that Bei Yunj was so beautiful. He had heard people talking about her a while ago and thought it was nonsense. In the past, before he transferred schools, he had confessed to Bei Yunj because he lost a bet. However, he didn't expect an extremely ugly girl to reject him. Therefore, he taught Bei Yunj a lesson. However, he didn't expect them to meet again. It was really fate. Bei Yunj, Ren Pengfei. The form teacher interrupted sternly. Even he was afraid of Qin Yu's gaze now. After being yelled at, Ren Pengfei had no choice but to restrain himself. However, his heart was itching, and his gaze drifted to Bei Yunj. He cleared his throat, rolled his eyes, and laughed. Director, if you want to blame someone, blame me. Don't blame Bei Yunj. After saying this, Xie Ziyue and Aya heaved a sigh of relief. Ren Pengfei looked at Bei Yunj, who was staring at him with a faint smile on her face. She looked beautiful and seductive, and his heart softened. If this matter gets out of hand, I'm also willing to take responsibility. His voice did not stop. Qin Yu had already walked forward, grabbed Ren Pengfei's collar and punched him ruthlessly. In an instant, screams could be heard. I think you're tired of living. His tone was cold. Qin Yu exuded a dangerous aura from head to toe. His handsome and arrogant eyes were filled with coldness. A strand of loose short hair fell in front of his forehead, making him look refined and wolfish. Mr. Qin. The form teacher's eyes widened. She never thought that Qin Yu would really do something in school. He was F*King calling his parents to solve the problem, not to find trouble. Mr. Qin, control yourself and calm down. This is a school. You have to pay attention to your image. The dean also felt a chill run down his spine. He did not dare to go forward and could only persuade him from the side. However, Qin Yu only looked down at Ren Pengfei. Get up and talk to me properly. P.S. Be good. Maintain your top 10 ranking. Update 5 to 6 p.m. Chapter 173. Ren Pengfei did not expect Qin Yu to hit him in public. His heart was filled with fear. At this moment, the eyes of the person who was secretly leaning against the door widened. Qin Yu actually hit someone for Bei Yunj? Wasn't this brother too godly? F*CK, what kind of godly brother did Bei Yunj get? Qin Yu actually hit Ren Pengfei for Bei Yunj just now. With such a brother, what is Bei Yunj thinking? Does she like Ren Pengfei? Qin Yu is really unlucky to have Bei Yunj. Compared to Qin Youjiao, Bei Yunj is useless. Someone could not help but mock. The discussion at the door did not stop. At this moment, a chuckle was especially eye-catching in the quiet office. Bei Yunj walked in front of Ren Pengfei and smirked. Don't you think you're very stupid for being so reckless? You. Ren Pengfei felt inexplicably flustered under Bei Yunj's gaze. However, after regaining his senses, he said maliciously, Bei Yunj, are you afraid because you don't dare to admit it? Bei Yunj could not be bothered to look up. We've known each other since year 1. Oh, so you still dare to admit it? Ren Pengfei was also scheming in his heart. Now that Bei Yunj was the young lady of the Qin family, her status had risen. If he could make the Qin family acknowledge his relationship with Bei Yunj, then he would be considered to have climbed up the ranks of a wealthy family. A strange glint flashed past Ren Pengfei's eyes. However, in the eyes of Xie Ziyue, her expression darkened and her hands clenched into fists. Ever since I transferred to Class 7, you can't take your eyes off me. Bei Yunj suddenly repeated what he had said in the letter slowly. She smirked. Really? The moment she finished speaking, Ren Pengfei's expression froze and a trace of panic flashed past his eyes. Although we used to be schoolmates, we didn't know each other. I only noticed you after you transferred to another school. Ren Pengfei was still feeling smug, thinking that his words were watertight, but when Xie Ziyue and Aya heard this, their faces turned pale. I see. Bei Yunj laughed ambiguously and glanced at the dean calmly. Dean, did you hear that clearly? After the dean regained his senses, his expression turned ugly. Xie Ziyue, Ren Pengfei, are the three of you treating me like a monkey? Just now, these two people had said that Bei Yunj was pursuing Ren Pengfei. In Ren Pengfei's words, he and Bei Yunj had become strangers again before she transferred schools. After Ren Pengfei was yelled at, he was still at a loss. Aya panicked. Director, this. Ren Pengfei said it himself. Do you have proof? Suddenly, Lu Yuanxi sneered. I panicked. Suddenly, Xie Ziyue said calmly, Director, even if there are different versions of this matter, it doesn't mean that Bei Yunj was wrongly accused. The dean's face darkened as he glanced at Xie Ziyue. He still didn't want to believe that a good student would frame someone else. I don't think what Xie Ziyue said. It didn't make sense. Director, it's not time for you to retire yet, right? Bei Yunj asked casually. Hearing this, the dean's face almost twisted. What did she mean? Did she say that he was senile? Bei Yunj, as a student, before the dean could finish speaking, the door was suddenly pushed open. Chapter 174. Master Du, Qin Yu was stunned for a moment. He did not expect Huashidu to come. Why was he here? At this moment, everyone's eyes landed on him and they could not regain their senses. She looked at the man's handsome and superior face, his well-tailored suit, and his light gaze, with an inexplicable aggressiveness and an innate sense of oppression. Come here. Huashidu's low and pleasant voice sounded carelessly. After that, when everyone was in a daze, Bei Yunj went forward and grabbed the hand of the cold and dignified man in front of her. Her eyes curved. Why is brother here? With that said, suddenly, Qin Yu froze. He suddenly realized that Gu had not called him second brother for a long time. Huashidu's thin eyelids lifted and his gaze landed on her indifferently. He stretched out his hand lazily and pinched her cheek punishingly. Are you causing trouble again? The man's voice was clearly lazy and indifferent, but for some reason, one could hear the indulgence and casualness in it. I'm not. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, the dean said cautiously, Sir, are you from the Qin family too? My surname is Hua. Huashidu's tone was slow and unhurried. His cold and distant appearance inexplicably made people even more nervous. However, at the same time, he allowed the little girl beside him to lower her head and play with his slender hand. The sudden sense of indulgence made people feel that the air in the office had become sweet. Was this still a student's parent? Those who did not know better would think that he was a student's puppy love. At this moment, Lu Yuanxi was also staring at the man not far away and felt frustrated. He had seen this man once. So at the same time, he knew the difference between him and this man. Mr. Hua, although the dean did not know the identity of the person in front of him, from Qin Yu's attitude towards Huashidu just now, it was enough to tell that he was either rich or noble. He took a deep breath and said with a smile, this matter is mainly because of Bei Yunj, then. Before the dean could finish speaking, the girl with her head lowered suddenly smirked. In the next moment, Bei Yunj turned around, went around the man's waist, and hid behind him. Then, he saw her holding Huashidu's hand with one hand and the waist of his suit with the other. She stuck her head out from the inside of his bent arm. She raised her head. Her beautiful eyes were clear and harmless. Brother, this has nothing to do with me. Everyone's eyelids twitched when they saw Bei Yunj pretending to be obedient. Do you dare to repeat your arrogant and presumptuous behavior just now? However, although the man glanced at Bei Yunj casually, he didn't say anything. His casual tone was a little intimidating, but it was obvious that he was indulging Bei Yunj. If my daughter does something wrong in school, as her parent, I will take her back and educate her. But this time, the main reason I'm here is because I can't see my miss being wronged. As soon as he finished speaking, the dean's expression changed drastically. Even Ren Pengfei and the other two students' faces turned pale. Qin Yu was someone who listened to her explanation just now. However, the moment this person entered, it was obvious that he wanted someone to give him an explanation. Of course. I won't let the student suffer. The dean could only put on a fake smile. Chapter 175. Brother, it's actually not a big deal. Bei Yunj, who had started to cause trouble, never disappointed anyone. He was like a troublemaker who had been spoiled by an incapable ruler. It's mainly because the dean insisted that I'm in a puppy love. Right, dean? The dean was speechless. Puppy love? Hua Shidu looked up. Bei Yunj looked at Ren Pengfei and said with a smile, Student Ren. At this moment, when he heard Bei Yunj calling him, Ren Pengfei's back turned cold. It's you. The man's gaze was deep and cold. The oppressive feeling landed on Ren Pengfei, making him not dare to breathe loudly. Facing such a strong and dangerous man, Ren Pengfei's legs had long turned weak. But coincidentally. Then, Ren Pengfei's parents rushed over. Pengfei, what's wrong with your face? This is too much. Who dares to touch you? I must make him pay the price. Mrs. Ren rushed over and hugged Ren Pengfei with heartache. Her tone was sharp and angry. Who knew? Then, Qin Yu's voice sounded slowly. It's me. Hearing this, Mrs. Ren felt a sense of familiarity. When she turned around and saw Qin Yu's face clearly, she was stunned. Second young Master Qin. Your son is very bold. He even dares to have designs on my sister. Qin Yu's tone was cold and indifferent. Hearing this, the Ren couple finally understood what was going on. But then, Mrs. Ren forced a smile and said, How can you blame my son for this? Then why doesn't my son mess around with others? Why does he have to mess around with your family? Although Mrs. Ren did not dare to continue, her meaning was obvious. Mrs. Ren had the same thoughts as Ren Pengfei. A smile appeared on her face again, but she did not notice how cold the man's gaze was. Since this has happened and second young Master Qin's sister has suffered, our family will be responsible. Hearing this family's shameless words, Qin Yu laughed in anger. He turned around. Master Du, what do you say about this? Hearing this, the Ren couple turned around and saw a handsome and dignified man calmly flipping the silver lighter in his hand. The crisp sound was accompanied by a sense of coldness. His expression was so dark that it was hard to tell what he was thinking. Yet, he sneered faintly, Yes, I have to take responsibility. Master. Master Du. Not long after, Papa Ren, who had always been indifferent, suddenly felt that this address was very familiar. The next moment, Seng Su walked in from the door and said respectfully with a smile, Master Du, the Ren family's business partners for the past few years have been tabulated. Do you need the Hua Corporation to release the news to those partners now? Hua Corporation, Papa Ren quivered and immediately reacted. His back started to break out in cold sweat. Was it the Hua Corporation? How could it be the Hua Corporation? Didn't Fei only offend the Qin clan? Originally, along the way, he thought that perhaps he could spread the news to let the outside world know that there was an undeniable relationship between the daughter of the Qin family and the successor of the Ren family. This way, a bad thing would become a good thing, and the Ren family would be pulled up as well. Let the Qin family suffer in silence. But now, why was the Hua Corporation here? Who had the guts to make the Hua Corporation suffer in silence? Master Du, it's the child who doesn't know any better. Please don't be angry. Papa Ren's scalp turned numb when he thought of the Hua Corporation's methods. Then. Chapter 176. At this moment, Ren Pengfei, who had been slapped by his father, was completely stunned. He covered his cheek and felt that there was blood in his mouth. He could not speak clearly. Dad, why did you hit me? Who asked you to do such a bastard thing? Bastard, I'll beat you to death today. Father Ren's face was gloomy and distorted. He kicked Ren Pengfei fiercely. The people around them were shocked when they heard the muffled sound. Especially Xie Ziyue. She looked flustered. She did not expect that the man beside Bei Yunj would make the Ren family not dare to make a sound. Why did you hit Fei? Mother Ren widened her eyes and reached out to pull Father Ren back. However, she did not expect Father Ren to shake her off ruthlessly and push her to the ground. He said viciously, if it weren't for you, B*TCH, doting on him, would he be so lawless? If you dare to stop me again, be prepared to divorce me. Take this good-for-nothing thing and scram. Perhaps because she had never made Father Ren so angry before, Mother Ren was afraid and aggrieved. He was just a child from another family, and he actually treated his own son like this? However, at this moment, when Hoshido saw this scene, his eyes were calm. He only lowered his eyes and covered Bei Yunja's eyes with his slender and well-defined hand. Bei Yunja's vision was pitch black. She could only turn her head and raise her head in Hoshido's direction. I can't look. Yes. Hoshido's low and magnetic voice flowed out from the tip of his sexy throat. Bei Yunj was not interested in the scene of domestic violence. After turning her head, she stood patiently beside the man. When Lu Yuanxi saw this scene not far away, his eyes darkened subconsciously. This was the first time he saw Bei Yunj showing weakness to someone. It was also the first time he saw her being so obedient to someone. After about 20 minutes, Hoshido spoke indifferently. President Ren, it's better to restrain yourself in school. The form teacher's eyelids twitched. Why didn't you say that just now? Initially, Father Ren kept glancing at Hoshido several times, hoping to hear Hoshido stop. Now that everyone was lying on the ground, unable to stand up, this person finally spoke. This bastard only knows how to cause trouble for me. Master Du, I'm really sorry. I really didn't think that he would do such a thing. Papa Ren's words sounded as if this was Ren Pengfei's first time committing a crime. Then, he said flatteringly, Master Du, don't worry. In order not to make Miss unhappy, I will immediately complete the transfer procedures. Hoshido put down his hand that was covering Bei Yunja's eyes. As a parent, I don't want any stain on my daughter's reputation. After Hoshido finished speaking, his cold gaze glanced at the dying Ren Pengfei on the ground. It was obvious that Hoshido was referring to him. Ren Pengfei trembled when he sensed Hoshido's gaze. He pointed at Xie Ziyue and said in a trembling voice, Father, I've never been in a relationship with Bei Yunj. My girlfriend is Xie Ziyue. Really, believe me. What? You idiot, why didn't you say so earlier? Papa Ren widened his eyes. Ren Pengfei was at a loss for words. Mama Ren's heart instantly ached and she turned to look at Xie Ziyue ferociously. She went up to Xie Ziyue and slapped her, as if venting her anger. Little vixen. How dare you seduce my son? Chapter 177. Xie Ziyue's head was buzzing from the slap. At the same time, she was frightened by Mama Ren's fierce aura and pushed back in fear. I didn't, not yet. Mama Ren grabbed Xie Ziyue's hair and slapped her left and right as if she was venting her anger. Was it your idea, you little vixen? If you didn't instigate him, would my son have done such a thing? Now that she knew that the man beside Bei Yunj could not be provoked, Mama Ren only dared to bow to him and step on him. Fortunately. Not long after, the form teacher went up and pulled her back. Her face was accidentally scratched by Mama Ren. As for Xie Ziyue, her originally fair and clean face was already red and swollen. Her wounds were bleeding, and her crying appearance was even more tragic. Seeing this situation, Bei Yunja's eyes were cold. She only glanced over indifferently. Master Du, look at this. Papa Ren's face was still full of smiles as he nodded and bowed. Actually, it's just a misunderstanding. After I transfer the child to another school, he won't be an eyesore to Miss anymore. What do you think? There's no need to transfer schools. Hoshido put the silver lighter back into his trouser pocket. Our Yunyun is very noisy, but she's still a girl. The man took a wet wipe from the coffee table and held Bei Yunja's hand. He slowly wiped her palm clean, gentle and indulgent. Since the Ren family also has business in other cities, it's not bad to develop in other cities. As soon as he finished speaking, Papa Ren's expression changed. Master Du, their Ren family had relied on Yunchang's rapid development and good opportunities to develop quickly. However, if they were to go to other places, it would be difficult for the Ren family to advance. President Ren, there are consequences for everything you do. Hoshido's thin eyelids did not move. His noble and handsome eyes were still unreasonable. As for your son, this is just a conflict between children. It won't affect the relationship in the industry. After sending him abroad for 6 to 7 years, he will learn to be obedient. As soon as he finished speaking, Papa Ren's pupils constricted violently and his face turned ashen. Mama Ren almost fainted when she heard this. Hoshido's words sounded like he did not intend to fuss over it. However, the underlying meaning was clearly telling Papa Ren that if the Ren family did not follow his instructions, then it would no longer be a conflict between children. It would affect the Ren family's lifeline. After Papa Ren left, Bei Yunj also returned to the classroom. Qin Yu thought for a moment and his eyes landed on Hoshidu. Master Du, when did you have such a good relationship with my gu-er? Those who did not know would think that Hoshidu was his gu-er's biological brother. At the thought of Bei Yunj calling Hoshidu brother sweetly when she saw him, Qin Yu almost felt jealous. Didn't you ask me to take care of her? The handsome man said casually. Qin Yu thought for a moment. He seemed to have told Hoshidu this before. However, he did not expect Hoshidu to really listen. Brother, you're really something. I'll treat you. I have something to do, so I'll go back to the company first. Before Qin Yu could finish speaking with a smile, Hoshidu glanced at his watch and left. Qin Yu, half an hour later. Sitting in the nanny van, Qin Yu saw more than 10 calls from Qin Yojiao. He sneered. There was only coldness in his eyes. Then, he picked up the phone. Chapter 178. Hearing Qin Yojiao cry sadly, Qin Yu did not waver at all. In fact, impatience even appeared in his arrogant eyes. Are you done? Second brother, I'm the one who grew up with you. Qin Yojiao hid the unwillingness in her eyes and sat on the bed, her voice only sobbing. I also hope that my gu-er wasn't adopted wrongly from the start. Qin Yu's words made Qin Yojiao's heart turn cold. All of this belongs to gu-er. Second brother, you. Qin Yojiao opened her mouth. I've already found the information of the users who slandered gu-er on the forum. I'll get someone to send you a copy later. Qin Yu snorted softly and gave a faint smile. Mom looked for me recently because of this evidence, right? In that case, Qin Yojiao, I'll give you a chance. Think about it carefully. Do you plan to reveal your true identity or this evidence? Choose one of the two. In an instant, Qin Yojiao shuddered all over. No matter which one she chose, she would become a laughing stock in the end. Second brother, I don't want to. I don't want to choose. Second brother, I know I was wrong. Qin Yojiao, you don't have the right to call me that. Qin Yu's tone was full of mockery. Okay, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I hope the answer to choosing one of the two today will appear. Qin Yu's lips curled up. Of course, it's impossible to not announce that you're the fake young lady of our Qin family. I'll make you leave the Qin family. If you didn't know Mrs. Qin's temper, she might have done something to Bei Yunj because of Qin Yojiao. He wouldn't let Qin Yojiao jump around until today. But no matter what, Qin Yojiao was a scourge. He had to throw this time bomb out of the Qin family as soon as possible. Qin Yu fell into deep thought. The entire morning. The news of Ren Pengfei being taken away on an ambulance and Bei Yunj's 2 older brothers arriving had spread throughout the school. F***ck, Qin Yu is really handsome. My legs almost turned to jelly. What? I heard that Bei Yunj has an older brother who's even more handsome than Qin Yu. Could this be Bei Yunj's older brother? I don't know. These people only know how to make wild guesses, and no one dares to ask. At this moment, Lu Yuanxi, who heard the discussion in the classroom, frowned. He turned around and looked at Bei Yunj. Is that really your brother? Who? Bei Yunj asked slowly. That Mr. Hua. Lu Yuanxi was upset. Bei Yunj's eyes curved when she heard this. She said lazily, yeah, isn't my brother very eye-catching? Lu Yuanxi's eyelids twitched. I hope our deskmate relationship won't be ruined by your tacky taste. Bei Yunj smiled. Not to mention Lu Yuanxi, even Chu Zhixing could feel Bei Yunj's protectiveness. He's Master Pei's brother. Of course, I can't be picky. Chu Zhixing praised him very sensibly. Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked at Chu Zhixing with admiration. Then, she handed a paper bag to Chu Zhixing. Take this back and open it. What is this? Chu Zhixing was stunned. People with good taste will always have unexpected surprises. Bei Yunj chuckled lazily. Lu Yuanxi, who seemed to have been mocked and isolated, was speechless. Chu Zhixing froze for a moment and touched the packaging in the paper bag instinctively. He felt that this logo was very familiar. Chapter 179. Impossible. I must have seen it somewhere before. Chu Zhixing scratched his head and thought about the English letters on the logo. After a while, Chu Zhixing's body suddenly trembled, and the pen in his hand fell. Wait a minute. This was the universal logo of Country R's Medical Research Institute. Previously, it wasn't that his father hadn't thought about asking for help from these famous research institutes in the medical field. However, the conditions of these research institutes had always been harsh. They had to go through layers of reviews before they could get a chance. As for Chu Zhixing, he was rejected at the first review. After coming back to his senses, Chu Zhixing quickly took out the paper bag. After confirming it again, a stormy sea of emotions surged in his heart. It was really the logo of Country R's Medical Research Institute. Chu Zhixing looked at Bei Yunj in disbelief. Master Pei, where did you get this? A friend gave it to me. Chu Zhixing, who almost fell off his chair, was speechless. A friend from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Chu Zhixing felt that his understanding was shattered once again. Back then, he was very clear that Bei Yunj might have been the one who manipulated the headlines in Tieba. However, he pretended not to know to avoid causing trouble for Bei Yunj. But now, Chu Zhixing was completely dumbfounded. He had never thought that Bei Yunj would actually know the people from Country R's Medical Research Institute. They were a group of immortals. Bei Yunj suddenly said, "Don't use the previous ones." Stephen had said that the side effects of those old drugs were very big. Causing Chu Zhixing to become fat was only one of the side effects. Coincidentally, the new potions she brought were newly developed by Stephen. After using this drug for 2 to 3 months, Chu Zhixing's condition would improve without any side effects. At the same time, Bei Yunj's words stunned Chu Zhixing. Then, when he remembered that Bei Yunj had taken his injection some time ago, he immediately understood. Chu Zhixing's nose inexplicably turned sour. Thank you. He raised his head, his black eyes shining. Master Pei, I will definitely catch up with your footsteps and not embarrass you. One day, he would also be able to help Master Pei. Lu Yuanxi, who was writing a self-reflection, stopped. Has Fatty Chu gone mad? Chu Zhixing, although you're biased, you're still above average. Do you need to chase after my deskmate? Lu Yuanxi even suspected that Bei Yunj had given Chu Zhixing some kind of bewitching potion. This fanboy state of worshipping a big shot was simply frightening. Who knew? Chu Zhixing turned his head and coldly looked at Lu Yuanxi with a look that said, "You know nothing about power." Lu Yuanxi, very good, he's really crazy. At the hospital. When Mrs. Qin went to buy food, Qin Youjiao took out her phone. Her eyes were dark and her pretty face was a little distorted. Her expression was full of resentment and unwillingness. She couldn't help but grit her teeth. Since Qin Yu asked her to choose, she had no choice. Otherwise, she was also afraid that Qin Yu would do something to ruin her life. After all, the current Qin Yu was too unfamiliar. Bei Yunj, I won't let you off. Qin Youjiao bit her lower lip and after a while, she still wrote a post. 10 minutes later. The internet was bustling again. Many people reposted and commented on Qin Youjiao's post crazily. They didn't expect the drama of a wealthy family to be so exciting. Qin Yojiao, this time, I have to stand up and admit it. First of all, I'm sorry that I let everyone down. Chapter 180. In the school forum, I exposed the post about Sister Yunj because I didn't want Sister Yunj to go home. I'm really sorry for letting down everyone's trust and liking. At the same time, I want to apologize to Sister Yunj solemnly. I'm sorry, Sister Yunj. Picture. The picture Qin Yojiao posted was a handwritten apology letter, which seemed very sincere. In the comments section, there was another heated discussion. No way, no way. Qin Yojiao actually did such a thing. Is she afraid of threatening her position in the Qin family? Let's not talk about the past. The future is promising. Jiao Jiao is very good. She took the initiative to admit her mistake, heart, hug Jiao Jiao. You can't do this again, pitiful. I still think that Bei Yunj has something to do with Qin Yojiao being able to do such a thing. She made Qin Yojiao self-destruct so quickly. Bei Yunj is really capable. I'm a student of Hengda High School. I'm also very shocked that the person who posted this is Qin Yojiao. But isn't it true that Bei Yunj sucked the blood of the Qin family? Picture, soon. Qin Yojiao's fans started to control the comments and the public opinion gradually reversed. Bei Yunj took her grandmother to the best restaurant in Yuncheng for a meal. I wonder whose money she took to be filial. Grin, I don't want to say anything else, but Qin Yojiao is still in the hospital. Can't Bei Yunj be a human? Must she force her to her death? Oh my god, Bei Yunj is indeed not a simple character to be able to return to the Qin family. The once doted young lady of the Qin family is now being forced to such a state. Pitiful, I only realized now that it's really good to be a public figure. There are fans who control the comments. The one who was apologized to even has to be scolded. Grin, because Qin Yojiao had many die-hard fans, the comments section was soon filled with fan control comments. Even those sarcastic comments about Bei Yunj were deliberately liked by the fans and became trending. And Bei Yunj was even compared to Qin Yojiao. Even director Lin, who was photographed by a student last time, became a cold and greedy leech in the words of fans and righteous passers-by. After scrolling through these comments, Qin Yojiao heaved a sigh of relief and gradually felt smug. Although this incident had caused a small number of fans to leave, and there were even more haters. But it was worth it to trample Bei Yunj to this extent. However, half an hour later. Backstage. Brother Yu, Qin Yojiao, whom you asked me to keep an eye on, has already posted something. The assistant handed Qin Yu a bottle of water and passed him the phone. Hearing this, a mocking look appeared in Qin Yu's eyes. It seemed like this Qin Yojiao knew how to make a choice. However, after Qin Yu scrolled through a few comments, his handsome face gradually darkened. The smile on Qin Yu's lips was cold. She really knows how to gain sympathy. Most of the comments section was actually scolding Bei Yunj. He reprimanded Bei Yunj for sucking the blood of the Qin family. His words were extreme. Brother Yu, did you quarrel with Miss Qin? The assistant asked cautiously. It was his first time seeing Qin Yu treat Qin Yojiao like this. Besides, it was for that new younger sister, who had never appeared before. Qin Yu snorted and threw the mineral water bottle to the assistant. Don't mention her to me. Then, Qin Yu sat down. Before the assistant could ask again, he saw that he was editing a post. Brother Yu, you. The assistant's eyes widened in disbelief. Chapter 181. If it was really just siblings throwing a tantrum, Qin Yu wouldn't have done such a thing. It was obvious that they had broken up. The assistant was dumbfounded. However, even if Qin Yu did something that might affect his reputation, he didn't dare to interfere. After all, this person was Qin Yu. Soon, the internet exploded again. Everyone saw that Qin Yu had posted a post personally. Qin Yu, in the past 17 years, the kindness of raising me is greater than the heavens. As her elder brother, I owe Director Lin a thank you. Director Lin taught me very well and she has always been beautiful. Love and brightness, kindness will last forever. The picture was a photo of Qin Yu and the old lady taken a few days ago. The moment this post was posted, everyone thought of Qin Youjiao's post. Wasn't Qin Yu obviously responding to Qin Youjiao? This slap to the face was too ruthless. Not only did he tear apart those self-righteous fans who called the old lady a bloodsucker, he even tore apart Qin Youjiao. Every word was saying that Qin Youjiao had no moral bottom line. As expected of the best actor, he never showed mercy when tearing people apart. Soon, the comments section was occupied by fans of various families. Let me take a look. Let me take a look. F***ck, is brother Yu domineeringly protecting his sister? Sob, my husband's photo is so good. No way, no way, no way. The two sisters are tearing each other apart and Qin Yu is standing on their side? No wonder Jiao Jiao's condition hasn't been good recently. Can the Qin family be fair? Goodbye, the Jiao fan above, is there something wrong with your brain? Your main character isn't even saying anything about the old lady and you're not letting my brother Yu say anything. What's the matter? Are you planning to tear us apart? Sure, we don't mind either. We can help your main character raise his status. The moment Qin Yu's fans came up, Qin Youjiao's fans were terrified. After all, who didn't know the fighting power of Qin Yu's fans? Usually, almost no one in the industry dared to provoke this group of sisters. However, it didn't take long for strange comments to appear. Why does this old lady look so familiar? The person above, there's no need for that. She's the director of the orphanage. How, do you know her? F***ck, Bei Yunj used to live in an orphanage? No wonder. It's a fact that it's difficult to catch up to Qin Youjiao due to the lack of congenital conditions. Master laughed. The moment Qin Yu spoke, Pei Yunj gained so many fans who adore her. No matter what Qin Yu thinks, aren't this old lady and this new Miss Qin just greedy for the Qin family's money? Soon, this comment was liked and placed in the top 3 trending topics. Following that, many of Qin Youjiao's fans began to feel aggrieved. Sigh, it's so hard to chase after celebrities. As long as I'm Qin Youjiao's fan, I can't speak the truth. Our Jiao Jiao is just a flower of wealth. She can't compare to other people in terms of social experience. I heard that orphanages are quite messy, upstairs, that's right. You can't imagine the dark side of children who come from an orphanage. At this moment, many of Qin Youjiao's fans seized the opportunity to start a conspiracy theory. He even implied that Bei Yunj was not the daughter of the Qin family and that everything was a lie. But who would have thought that in the next moment, a pornographic account would make a statement? F***ck. It's really Dean Lin. Qin Youjiao's fans, can you wake up? Don't offend someone you shouldn't. Chapter 182. Awesome, so the director of the orphanage has such a background too. I'll give Bei Yunj a like, I'm dying of laughter. Someone you can't offend? You're so amazing. You know more than everyone, at this moment. The account was so angry that he laughed. However, not long after, he sent another reply. Indeed, Jiao fans are all primary school students. Search for Lin Longjun online. Don't act like a retard all day long. Seeing this comment, many of Qin Youjiao's fans were angry, but they still searched for that name. Soon, a Baidu encyclopedia appeared. Lin Longjun, Ph.D. in Biology, former director of Yunqing University's Faculty of Biology, and an academician of the Academy of Sciences. Winner of the 48th Janes Biology Award, specializing in molecular biology and systems biology. He is now retired. Everyone. What the hell? Were they dreaming? These honors felt like a big shot that they had to memorize in their high school textbooks had suddenly appeared in the entertainment industry. Did they break through the dimension? F***ck. The former director of my alma mater. I worship Director Lin. Ah, my idol. I'm crying. It's really Director Lin. The pioneer of biology in the country. I was caught by my roommate and asked me to come and see my idol. I didn't expect it to be Director Lin. Director Lin is my motivation to get into Yunqing University. She's also the person I'm most proud of in my youth. Wait a minute, are there any requirements to register for the orphanage? I think my son is quite suitable too. Ah, Bei Yunj has made a killing. Who doesn't want to be doted on by Director Lin? Director Lin was famous for her good temper back then. Not long after, the comments below Qin Yu exploded. A few hours later, some big shots in the scientific research field who obviously did not use social media registered personal accounts and reposted this post. Everyone looked at these credentials. The principal of Yunqing University, the dean of biology of Yunqing University, the founder of the Tsinghua Research Institute, one by one, the big shots who could let them memorize hundreds of words more in high school came out and reposted to support their old friends. This was a famous scene in the scientific research field. What was even more eye-catching was that the official account of Yunqing University, the highest university in the country, directly reposted and commented on Qin Yu's post. Yunqing University, Dean Lin donated all the patent fees back then to support the public welfare of the abducted children. You will always be the Director Lin that we are proud of, heart, // Qin Yu. The moment the post was forwarded, Qin Youjiao's fans fell silent. However, no one had forgotten the comments about Bei Yunj and Director Lin. I'm going to cry. Director Lin is such a good person. She went to open an orphanage in her later years and insisted on doing good deeds. Yet, she still has to be humiliated like this. Goodbye, I've turned from a fan to a hater. Disgusting. This time, it was your main character who admitted that he had slandered Director Lin. Smile, I'm dying of laughter. Ha 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 ha, Yunqing University unfollowed Qin Youjiao. That's too protective. That's right. All of Qin Youjiao's fans in Yun University have automatically stopped being her fans. Who isn't Dean Lin and Du Wei? The daughter that Principal Lin raised is my daughter too. Oh no, it's my collection. No wonder I haven't seen Bei Yunj's movements. The child raised by Director Lin is so low-key. Right now, all of Qin Youjiao's fans were panicking. No one had expected such a reversal. Chapter 183. The director of the orphanage that raised Bei Yunj was actually a famous researcher. Is this world a fantasy? Because of the sudden exposure of Director Lin's identity, the public's attitude towards Bei Yunj had changed drastically. In the past, when you said that you were envious of Qin Youjiao, I really couldn't get it. But now, I'm really envious of Bei Yunj. Not to mention her brother, can a researcher grandmother that appears in high school textbooks be more amazing? The photos that were posted on the forum don't seem to show Director Lin's face. It feels like Bei Yunj is blocking it on purpose. This is too heartwarming. Director Lin has helped the Qin family raise their daughter for 17 years. What's wrong with Bei Yunj bringing Director Lin out for a meal? Do all of you think that benefits are more important than raising her? A certain fan should come out and jump in. Why are you acting like cowards? Qin Youjiao, come out and apologize to Director Lin. Grin, at night. Qin Youjiao was still watching a drama. Not long after, Mrs. Qin pushed the door open and entered, her expression dark. Jiao Jiao, what did you post online? Qin Youjiao panicked immediately, thinking that Mrs. Qin also felt that she had gone overboard. Mom. I'm sorry. She bit her lip, her eyes red. I did something wrong. Can you forgive me? Hearing this, Mrs. Qin was angry and heartbroken. Jiao Jiao, are you stupid? Look at the headlines now. Headlines? Qin Youjiao was stunned. Weren't they all scolding Bei Yunj and that old Madam Lin? Qin Youjiao unconsciously opened the message and what entered her eyes was an unprecedented large number of private messages and comments. This made Qin Youjiao's heart tremble and she had a bad feeling. Then, Qin Youjiao clicked on it and after reading the first dozen or so comments, her face paled. How did this happen? The internet was filled with comments scolding and reprimanding her. And that ordinary-looking old lady was actually the former director of Yunqing University. And she had received so many honors. How was this possible? Qin Youjiao's expression was dazed as her face gradually turned green and red. Mom, Qin Youjiao couldn't help crying and started to feel helpless. I really didn't know. She's the dean of Yunqing University. Yunqing University had always been her dream school. But now, could she still get into Yunqing University? Mother Qin's expression didn't look too good either. She didn't expect that the seemingly submissive old lady was actually such a character. She took a deep breath and said, Jiao Jiao, when your leg is better, I'll take you to apologize to Director Lin. You must get her forgiveness. Mrs. Qin also regretted treating Director Lin like that back then. If she had known about Principal Lin's identity earlier, she would have definitely treated Principal Lin well. Perhaps, he could even get Director Lin to bring some resources to Jiao Jiao. But can Principal Lin forgive me? Qin Youjiao's eyes were filled with resentment and unwillingness. What right did Pei Yunj have to take all the good things? Even if Bei Yunj was swapped, how could she be adopted by Director Lin? Now that Bei Yunj was back, even second brother and third brother only treated Bei Yunj as their younger sister. At this moment, Mrs. Qin looked at Qin Youjiao, her heart feeling very complicated. She didn't expect Qin Youjiao to do such a thing. Seeing Mrs. Qin sigh, Qin Youjiao hurriedly grabbed Mrs. Qin's hand. She hated Bei Yunj to the core, but she cried and said with a trembling voice, Mom, I'm really afraid that she'll snatch you away. Chapter 184. Feeling helpless and heartbroken, Mrs. Qin could only caress Qin Youjiao's head. She could not bear to see Qin Youjiao being scolded like this. Don't do such a thing in the future. Mom will find someone to settle it for you. Backstage. Qin Yu read the public opinion and calmed down the shock in his heart before he started to play games. Then, suddenly, Qin Yu heard a phone notification. When he left the game and opened his personal message, he found that he had entered a mysterious and strange organization. What is it? Qin Yu opened the group chat in confusion. However, when he saw the group members' identities, the phone he was holding almost shook. The former and current principal of Yunqing University, the Dean of Science, and the current Dean of Biology. In addition, there were several famous professors. Even Qin Yu recognized them. One of the professors seemed to have won a world award some time ago. Dean of Biology of Yunqing University, do you have a personal account for your daughter? Qin Yu, former principal of Yunqing University, Qin Yu, little Qin, if you have the chance, let your daughter come to my house to play. Seeing these messages, Qin Yu felt like he had entered a world that did not fit in. These were all big shots in the scientific research field. Qin Yu was shocked for a long time as he watched this group of immortals continue chatting. Professor Yu Guang, haha, you're already so old and you're still thinking about Lan Jun? Principal of Yunqing University, former principal of Yunqing University, why do you care? Former principal of Yunqing University, Dean of Biology of Yunqing University, find a chance to get Lan Juan's daughter to enroll in our school. Seeing this message, Qin Yu thought of his GU's results and his eyelids twitched. He did not notice that another big shot had entered the group. Institute, Zhong Xinglin, why didn't Lan Jun tell me? Where did she find this child? After Zhong Xinglin found out that Bei Yunj was actually raised by his old acquaintance, he felt even more jealous. Why didn't he encounter such a good thing? Why couldn't he find an heir? Former principal of Yunqing University, old Zhong, don't wander around the edge of the law because you don't have a successor, okay? Institute, Zhong Xinglin, the nature of the crime of picking up a child and kidnapping children was the same. Institute, Zhong Xinglin, at this moment. Qin Yu had just regained his senses when he saw the new member's name card and almost stood up. Zhong Xinglin. Anyone who surfed the internet would know of this old Master Zhong. This was Director Lin's friend too. Qin Yu suppressed the shock and complexity in his heart. In the end, he took a deep breath and replied. Qin Yu, Doesn't have a personal account, principal of Yunqing University, it's fine. Your daughter is going to college soon, right? Have you decided which department you want to enter? Qin Yu, he probably wouldn't be able to get into any of the faculties. Just as Qin Yu was chatting awkwardly with the big shots, Bei Yunj was preparing the information she would bring to A.M. tomorrow. He didn't care about what was happening on the internet at all. However, at this time, Marcus called. What happened? Bei Yunj leaned back in her chair and wiped her wet hair lazily. I heard from Zhong Xinglin that something happened to you online again. Don't tell me you called me specially because of this. Bei Yunj's eyes relaxed and she looked charming. Seeing that Bei Yunj ignored the comments online, Marcus heaved a sigh of relief. He said, no, I'm looking for you this time mainly because of the Qin family. Chapter 185. About the Qin family? Bei Yunj's eyes were calm and he could not tell from her tone. Your brother seems to have been looking for professionals in the computing field to work with. Besides us, he has also contacted other computing institutes and professional platforms. Hearing this, a trace of thought flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. She did not know much about her brother, Qin Luyan. However, she remembered that the reason for the Qin family's bankruptcy seemed to be related to the company's data leak. For the company's data to be leaked, apart from being bribed, it could also be done maliciously by technicians. If it was the latter, then this was the same as the anti-fan who harmed old Master Qin back then. What conditions did he offer you? Bei Yunj asked. Marcus smiled. Everyone is well aware of what kind of conditions the rich will offer. This is nothing more than the hiring fee. However, Yunj, that's your brother. If it's for your sake, of course there's no problem. If it was before, Marcus would definitely have accepted it secretly and then told Bei Yunj to gain her favor. However, some time ago, he heard from that old fellow Zhong Xinglin about the Qin family and Bei Yunj and no longer had a good impression of the Qin family. What was wrong with them? They did not want a daughter who could bring the Qin family to the top and insisted on treating that Qin Youjiao as a treasure. Did this family use their IQ to exchange for looks? Just as expected. After a while, Bei Yunj tapped the table carelessly with her fingertips. There's no need. In the original novel, the Qin family's bankruptcy was done by an heiress who was crazily pursuing the eldest young master of the Qin family, Qin Luyan. Later, this heiress even became Qin Youjiao's good friend. So, for the time being, she could not interfere in this matter. She had to lure the snake out of its hole first. Although she did not want to have anything to do with the Qin family, she would help the original protagonist achieve her long-cherished wish after inheriting the original protagonist's body. Including solving the Qin family's crisis for the original protagonist. Yunj, do you really hate them a lot? Marcus hesitated for a moment before asking. Marcus, do you think I can't solve this matter? Bei Yunj was all smiles. Hearing this, Marcus was instantly enlightened. That's right. Did the Qin family need to go outside and beg for help? Didn't he have an immortal at home? Alright, then we won't get involved in this matter. After reporting this, Marcus hung up the phone. At this moment, Bei Yunj received a message from Qin Luyan almost at the same time. You're going back soon. Do you want any gifts? Bei Yunj glanced at it and frowned. She thought that Qin Luyan had sent it to the wrong person, so she turned around and went to the bathroom to dry her hair. But at the same time, Qin Luyan, who was far away in country R, waited for a few hours but did not receive a reply from his sister. The next day, after Bei Yunj went downstairs, she rubbed her furry head and asked in a nasal voice, Auntie Meow, where is my brother? Mr. Huo went out. I've prepared breakfast for you, miss, Auntie Meow said with a smile. Thank you, Aunt Meow. After Bei Yunj sat down, the worry in Aunt Meow's eyes gradually disappeared. Miss, I have something to tell you. Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked up instinctively. What is it? Mr. Huo went out with President Yu today. Auntie Meow frowned. President Yu doesn't have any good habits. He changes his girlfriend like clothes. If Mr. Huo went out with him, miss, you have to persuade sir to go home early. Chapter 186. Bei Yunji's hand that was scooping the porridge stopped. He did not quite understand Aunt Miao's anxiousness. Maybe she's going out to relax. Bei Yunji did not wait for Aunt Miao to continue persuading him and pulled her to sit down. Aunt Miao, try it too. It's pretty good. Aunt Miao, after breakfast. Bei Yunji glanced at the identity card that Zhong Xinglin had given him on the table. He casually stuffed it into his pocket and prepared to leave with the documents. A.M. Institute of Computational Technology. Brat, hurry up and wipe the glass. Why is it so dirty? It affects the aesthetics, do you know that? Zhong Xinglin suddenly slammed the young man's table, giving him a fright. What was wrong with this old man? Back then, when the higher-ups came over, he was so focused on research that he couldn't even be bothered to open the door for them. He left the leaders at the door for more than an hour. Now, he actually wanted him to wipe the glass. The young man thought for a moment and frowned again. No way, old master. There are only a few interns today. Do you have to mobilize so many people? He was a senior after all. Just because a few interns came over, he had to personally wipe the glass. What's wrong? There's a future director among them. Hearing this, Zhong Xinglin's face darkened and he slapped the back of the young man's head. The new member of the Marcus family will be coming today. You'd better be more respectful. Take good care of her and make her feel that the A.M. Institute is the happiest place in the world. The young man had goosebumps when he heard the happiest place in the world. He crossed his arms and looked wary. Old master, don't treat me as a tool just to seduce a big shot, okay? It's fine if it's a girl, but you want me to seduce a man with my beauty? This was a legitimate research institute. What kind of messy happy place was this? Zhong Xinglin endured for a long time and tried his best not to get angry. Then, he put on a fake smile. Do you think she'll like you? The young man. It's a little girl. Don't mess around. When Zhong Xinglin thought about how the person he had been looking for so long was finally under his nose, he became happy. Hurry up and wipe the windows. Also, ask those guys in the station to come over and identify the person in an hour. Little girl? How big is that? The young man's eyes lit up, and his blood boiled. Little girl? The little girl from their computing institute? Wasn't this too happy? You'll know when the time comes. Zhong Xinglin frowned and glanced at the restless young man with disdain. Old master, I actually think it's a good thing to sacrifice for the research institute. If it's possible. The young man changed the topic, but he did not expect to be interrupted by Zhong Xinglin with a smile. He closed his mouth with one hand. No, you can't. Even though the young man's mouth was pinched shut, he still struggled hard and said vaguely, I'm the favorite of the research institute, other than me, you can seduce anyone, but if you dare to seduce her, those old fellows from Yunqing University will be the first to not let you off. Zhong Xinglin's words made the young man unable to react. He did not expect this new member to have such a strong background. At this moment, Cheng Zihuai sat in the car and listened to Qin Youjiao speak. Zihuai, today is your first day in the institute. I'm really sad that I can't send you off. Chapter 187. Cheng Zihuai smirked. He was in a good mood because he had finally gotten the only internship spot in Hengda. Recuperate well. I'll visit you when I'm free. At this point, Cheng Zihuai could not help but think of Bei Yunji and he frowned. Ever since Bei Yunji returned to the Qin family, the Qin family had been in a mess. She was really here to collect debts. However, he did not expect Bei Yunji to be so lucky to be raised by Director Lin. Seeing that Cheng Zihuai's attitude towards her had not changed, Qin Youjiao felt sweet and touched. Then, after being coaxed by Cheng Zihuai, she hung up the call in relief. But almost at the same time, Cheng Zihuai received another call. It was from Mrs. Cheng. Zihuai, why couldn't I get through to you just now? I was calling Jiao Jiao, Cheng Zihuai said. Hearing this, Mrs. Cheng couldn't stop smiling. You said that you liked Jiao Jiao, but you refused to admit it. Back then, you quarreled with Jiao Jiao and insisted on getting engaged to Bei Yunj. Fortunately, the Qin family didn't take it seriously. Hearing Bei Yunj's name, the smile on Cheng Zihuai's face disappeared. Mom. Okay, let's not talk about her. My son is so outstanding, of course he has to find a girl who is worthy of him. Mrs. Cheng had always looked down on Bei Yunj and her tone was contemptuous. Zihuai, don't worry. Your father is very happy that you entered A.M. this time. When you become an official employee, I'll go and talk to Mrs. Qin about your engagement with Jiao Jiao. Cheng Zihuai's eyebrows relaxed. Thank you, Mom. Although Bei Yunj was indeed prettier than Jiao Jiao now, his wife was destined to be more than just looks. A person with a notorious record like Bei Yunj had no right to be his wife. After hanging up the call, Cheng Zihuai got out of the car and arrived at the entrance of the A.M. Computing Institute. Unfortunately, the moment he looked up, he saw Bei Yunj walking towards him. Cheng Zihuai furrowed his eyebrows and his gaze on Bei Yunj became mocking. He had gotten the only internship spot in Hengda. Wasn't it obvious why Bei Yunj was here? He thought that this woman really didn't care about him anymore. He didn't expect that she would return to her previous self so quickly. Cheng Zihuai turned his head coldly. After the security guard checked his internship certificate and let him go, he said, "It's better to prohibit unauthorized people from entering your place, lest they cause trouble." With that, Cheng Zihuai left. The security guard turned around and saw Bei Yunj. He immediately understood what Cheng Zihuai meant. Soon. When Bei Yunj reached the entrance, the security guard stopped her. "Miss, the station doesn't allow unauthorized people to enter." Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes moved as she saw Cheng Zihuai enter the A.M. Computing Institute. Of course, she knew why the security guard stopped her. She lowered her eyes and her red lips curled. Without saying anything, she took out her identity card and swiped it on the machine. Shortly after. Before the security guards could stop them, they heard a long beeping sound. Then, the door opened automatically. The security guard's eyes widened when he saw this. Only the professors and directors of the institute had this identity card. What was wrong with this young lady? Can I go in now? Bei Yunj looked at him and smiled politely. When the security guard reacted, he hurriedly nodded. Miss, please. What kind of operation was this? This young lady was a new member of the station. She was too young. After Bei Yunj thanked him, she went straight into the police station. Chapter 188. Bypassing the courtyard, Bei Yunj walked along the long corridor and found the reception room. However, she did not expect to meet a young man cleaning glass on the way. Bei Yunj was speechless. Did the people in the computing institute love life so much? Hello, uncle. May I know how to get to the reception room? Hearing this address, the young man's body trembled and his face darkened. He turned around and wanted to curse. However, when he saw Bei Yunj's face clearly, his face was filled with shock. It's you. The young man's heart was in turmoil, but all his doubts were resolved. However, when he regained his senses, he became agitated again. Why is it you? It's actually you. Are you kidding me? So, the person who paralyzed the headlines and accurately sent Qin Lang's anti-fans to the police station was Bei Yunj herself? There were no other big shots at all. When the young man thought about how the security system in the hospital that he could not even make was made by Bei Yunj, his heart skipped a beat and he sprained his ankle. His entire body fell out of the window. At this moment, his eyes widened in fear. In the process of falling, he saw Bei Yunj quickly and considerately move the bucket under him away with the tip of her foot. It was not enough to make him drenched. However, the next moment, the young man still screamed and almost lost his life. Ouch, my waist. The young man's face was distorted from the pain. A few minutes later, the young man regained his senses and looked up to meet Bei Yunji's gaze. The two of them looked at each other and were silent for a long time. The young man said, "Thank you." Bei Yunji said, "You're welcome." One dared to say it, while the other dared to respond. In the long corridor, the young man held his waist and limped with Bei Yunji to look for Zhong Xinglin. "My name is Si Qingyan. You can call me Brother Yan." Bei Yunji could tell that he had deliberately emphasized the last few words. "Okay, where is Elder Zhong?" "Old Master planned to let you use the Deputy Director's research lab. He probably went to see the layout." Bei Yunji did not expect Zhong Xinglin to care so much about her. She nodded. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Grandpa likes you a lot. You have to know that I only had the privilege of having my own research lab last year." Si Qingyan looked at her sourly. "If you sign with our agency, I don't know how much he will dote on you. Marcus is also very good to me." Bei Yunji chuckled. Although it hadn't been long since they signed the contract, Marcus did clean up a lot of her messes. "With your qualifications, you'll be worshipped like an ancestor no matter where you go, okay?" Si Qingyan was indignant. He was only 19 years old. In the future, he would definitely be a rare genius that every country would fight over. Bei Yunji smiled nonchalantly and followed Si Qingyan to another building. But right at this moment, Qing Zihuai, who was passing by, was stopped by a graduate student who had just entered the institute this year. The senior pointed at Si Qingyan excitedly. "Did you see that boy? He's not even 30 years old and is a guest professor of computer science at our Yunqing University." When Qing Zihuai heard this, he was about to size up Si Qingyan when he suddenly noticed the figure beside him. His expression changed. "Wasn't that Bei Yunji? How did she get into the computing institute? Why are you in a daze?" "Did you hear what I said?" the senior said unhappily. "I'll go take a look." Qing Zihuai's face darkened and he wanted to chase after her. But then, he was stopped by the senior. Chapter 189. Are you crazy? Do you want to be chased out? The senior could not help but pat Qing Zihuai and laugh. "Brother, those who are not important members of the institute are not qualified to enter that place." Qing Zihuai's mind was in a mess. He took a deep breath and pointed in the direction Bei Yunji had left. "Then that girl, huh?" "What girl?" The senior did not notice Bei Yunji and only cared about showing off his connections in front of the new Qing Zihuai. As for Qing Zihuai, he was sure that the person he saw just now was definitely Bei Yunji. He could not be wrong. However, Bei Yunji could not be an important member of the institute. Other than experienced computing talents, A.M.'s entry process would take several years to reach that position. How could Bei Yunji know anything about computers? "It's fine." Qing Zihuai took a deep breath and did not continue to dwell on this matter. In the research room. "Do you want to consider the new interns for our new project? They all feel good." The plump director smiled apologetically. In the past few years, there were almost no interns left in the institute. Although he was anxious, there was nothing he could do. After all, this was founded by Zhong Xinglin himself. No one could interfere. "Consider my foot." Zhong Xinglin rolled his eyes. When he thought about how Marcus could poach someone from Yunqing across the ocean, he was so angry that his lungs hurt. The director was shocked. He did not know why Zhong Xinglin had been so hot-tempered recently. "Then this research room?" the director asked carefully. "It's for someone else," Zhong Xinglin said matter-of-factly. The director continued to ask, "Not from our institute?" "I haven't poached her yet." Zhong Xinglin was also a little worried. That girl looked young, but he could not figure out what she was thinking. However, when the director heard this, his eyelids twitched. "You didn't manage to poach her, so you let her come to our private research room? Wasn't this too much?" Back then, Si Qingyan had hugged Zhong Xinglin's thigh and begged shamelessly for a year before he had a private research room. "She's worth it." After Zhong Xinglin said this, he chuckled at the department head. If I don't have any ideas about her and continue to guide those interns, I don't know if I will still have any hope of seeing my juniors win the Busaka Prize before I die. Busaka Prize? The director's expression changed. How could a member of the Foreign Institute be so capable? She's from the Marcus Research Institute. She was the one who proposed the key project of our nation's computing institute this year. Hearing Zhong Xinglin's words, the director's scalp went numb. Since Superintendent Zhong was trying to poach people, wouldn't Marcus fly over from country R to fight with Superintendent Zhong? The new member they are talking about. Zhong Xinglin and Marcus, important members of the Computing Institute, knew each other. If it was an old member, Zhong Xinglin would have already taken action. Yes. Director, it wasn't easy for the other party to sign a big shot, and he was already trying to poach him. Wasn't he afraid of retribution? Then when will she? Before the director could finish his worrisome question, he heard a clear voice. Elder Zhong. In an instant. The director paused and slowly turned his head. His gaze landed on Bei Yunj. Then, his mind exploded. He instantly understood why Zhong Xinglin had spent so much money to poach him. Was this really the person the superintendent wanted to poach? Wasn't she too young? Chapter 190. At this age, she could already aim for the Busaka Prize. If it was him, he would also dig her up. Yunj, you're here. Look at this place. Are you satisfied? The moment Zhong Xinglin saw Bei Yunj, his eyes lit up. He was so amiable that Si Qingyan, who was beside him, felt extremely uncomfortable. Ha! Back then, when he had been recruited, this old man had not even treated him like this. Thank you, I like it very much. Bei Yunj scanned the spacious and bright research room. There were all kinds of basic facilities. There was even a projector in front to facilitate the live video conference. It's good that you like it. Then I'll bring you to meet people first. Zhong Xinglin's words made people think that Bei Yunj had already entered their calculations. Okay. Bei Yunj's eyes moved. Indeed. In the next period of time, she would have to come to the institute often. It was time to meet people. Although she also felt that Zhong Xinglin's intentions seemed to be different. In the conference room, Bei Yunj was arranged to sit on the left of Zhong Xinglin. The important members of A.M. had just entered when they noticed the unfamiliar girl and were shocked. What was going on? Didn't they say that they were here to see the big boss that the old master was especially concerned about? What did it mean that a young girl suddenly appeared in their institute? Suddenly. A terrifying conjecture emerged in their minds. No way. The big boss that the inspector liked was this young girl. Sit down, what are you looking at? The head of department raised his orchid fingers and served Bei Yunj a cup of tea. Miss Pei, try it. It's fresh, milk tea. He looked down and realized that Si Qingyan, that bastard, had gotten him a cup of milk tea. The head of department's eyes were burning as he stared straight at Si Qingyan. You're welcome. Si Qingyan raised his glass at Bei Yunj and drank the milk tea in one gulp. He crossed his arms and bit the pearl happily. Bei Yunj took the teacup as her overly beautiful eyes curved lazily. She didn't seem like a difficult person to interact with. Seeing this, the director and director both heaved a sigh of relief. Come, let me introduce you. This is Bei Yunj. She's the little girl I mentioned to everyone before. Zhong Xinglin turned around excitedly. Yunj, introduce yourself. When Bei Yunj heard this, she felt the gazes around her. She was silent for a moment and swallowed the pearl unhurriedly. Hello, everyone. I'm Bei Yunj, a member of Country R's Institute of Computational Technology. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere was cold and awkward. Everyone, oh, he hadn't been poached yet. At the same time, in the meeting room of another building, Qing Zihuai frowned. Didn't you say that we have a meeting at 11? The boy next to him shook his head and whispered into his ear mysteriously. I heard that the professor who is going to give us a speech is having an impromptu meeting. In the next building, the big shots were having a meeting. Do you understand? All of them are immortals. An impromptu meeting at this time? Cheng Zihuai pursed his lips. However, as an intern, he had no right to speak. I think a big boss came. The institute values her very much, the boy said nonchalantly. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai's expression softened a little. However, he was also curious